like talking about your thoughts?
Yeah, just, and not even just talking about it, but it's just mental reps. Like, it's just like,
Having a conversation is mental reps.
yeah, 100%. Like,
I would agree.
Yeah, of like me getting to think through what I think and feel. You know, I feel like a lot of us have a lot of opinions. There was a quote I just saw. It was like, a lot of people want the comfort of opinion without the discomfort of deep thought.
Or the discomfort of being not necessarily reprimanded, but having there be an opposing viewpoint that is now filtered because of what you said. So like a lot of people want to speak into the ether as if they are correct on a topic, but they're not necessarily ready to like
Be
for a
challenged.
rebuttal. Yeah. Like I like red. Well, someone that likes blue is like, well, I like blue.
Yeah.
Who's right, who's wrong? It's like, well, now you have to kind of discuss. Well, I like red because 112.
And it's not even about who's right and wrong necessarily, but understanding why you like red better.
Yeah.
It's like, why do I like red? Like, why?
Or maybe you find something in their logic that you're like, okay, maybe I don't like red. I like purple, and I like actually.
Yeah.
There's more of me that's blue. Not to get too political, but like there's more of me that's blue than I originally
I
thought.
didn't even. I wasn't even thinking about it like
right?
that. But,
so it's like, but I genuinely feel that a lot of people in like it's kind of like a deeper meaning, but it's a microcosm of life. Is like, I say this all the time. Is like if you ask 100 people various questions, like, do you want cleaner streets, safer roads, you know, a better future for your kids? Everybody, for the vast majority, there'll be a vast minority that doesn't agree, but the majority of people will agree. So then you're like, okay, when I put everybody together, we all seem to see eye to eye on certain things. The only place that we really differ is how we get to that quote unquote promised land, right? But I feel like just a lot of narratives are more towards being correct and not necessarily giving ground and adjusting your path. And I think, you know, it's easy to say, and it's easy in theory, hard in application, because in order for you to give ground, that means you have to take a part of what you thought was true or factual and kind of break that off and now supplement that with the new information. And I think to your point of saying like, you know, conversations is like repetition, I agree, but like the conversation should have depth because small talk is called small for a reason. And I think inherent deep conversation is its own therapy. I can tell you that right now from this podcast.
100%. Yeah.
The last podcast we did, or maybe it was the very first one we did, I remember I told you I felt lighter afterwards. Like we did like maybe 2 hours on religion, right? About God and everything. And I was like, we got done and I was like, dude, I feel 5 pounds lighter. Like my soul was lighter, right? Now, a combination of that could have been the topic, but I also think for 2 hours, I was intrigued by what you were saying and there was discourse and back and forth. And it was like a healthy reciprocation of language and dialogue and thought. And we often say that there are three, what are they? The three necessities to life is like food, water, and shelter, right? Well, the fourth one is social. It's like the human, the human interaction. And I think in a growing digital world where everyone's doom scrolling and just texting and maybe not doing that face to face, that's why I don't do Zoom calls. I don't want to do Zoom calls. I want someone to be here. I want the nonverbal. I want the communication. I want to look you in the eyes. I want to see in real time how you react and how I react. I think it makes for a better product.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe I'm wrong.
No delay, nothing interfering with it.
Well, also, it changes the way people talk to one another because I'm not 1,000 miles away from you where I can say some stupid shit. Fuck you, Evan. Well, now, yeah, exactly. But now I'm right here. So there's also, I don't want to say it this way, but there are immediate possible physical consequences for the way I interact. And that I think if anything is missing in today's society, it's that. Because back in the day, when people used to get rowdy and talk a lot of shit, they used to get slapped in real time. Now, you have a generation of kids that know nothing but like Xbox Live and talking shit on Discord. Then they get out into like the real world and they think that that's acceptable there too. It's like, brother, you got another thing coming, man.
That's actually a really good or interesting topic too, because it's like, I feel like whenever we're hidden behind a screen, especially because we're always going to have some sort of like username or something like that, it just like dehumanizes people, you know? It's like it's this weird slight separation because I know I'm talking to a person, but just like you were just talking about, like on like, think about like a Call of Duty game.
Gamer tag. Big Balls 39. Talk about teabagging my mom.
Think about just like being in like a dude, what is that called? It's been so long since I played it. For like just in the lobby chat. Right,
okay.
Dude, ruthless. Like you're just ruthless. Bro.
You can't put that on YouTube,
dude. No, ruthless.
It's hard R's. They're calling you every name under
your
the book.
Your mom is just the worst person in the world, dude. But anyways, it gets you used to just like you're talking to another person, but like Not really. Like you don't even think about it like that. But now I think that almost crosses into the line of like social media. Dude, I legitimately just look at social media as like a video game. Like I think it's just a completely separate little reality, and people way too closely confuse it for real life.
How old are you?
27.
Okay.
Or no, I'm sorry, I just turned 28.
Just turned 28.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
haven't
32, so I'm
adapted
4
to
years
that.
older than you. Did you ever have MySpace, or like was the social media when you were coming up just Facebook?
No, I had like a Bebo. You remember that shit? That was so funny. It made me laugh. It made me laugh even just saying it.
Yeah.
Bebo, MySpace. There was a couple like just little like knockoffs, stuff that was trying to come up. But
I guess the reason I bring that up is I feel like those are fundamentally just different tools than what we use today. Just wanted to take a second to pause the action and just tell you guys thank you so much for consuming our content. Easy Talk is a passion project. This podcast is just a bunch of like-minded people coming together to produce some cool stuff and talk to some cool people. One of the things I would very much appreciate is if you could possibly like the video or subscribe to the channel, just because it helps us in the algorithm and ultimately to grow, to get more exposure to everybody, including ourselves, and ultimately just make a better product. Take a second, I'd greatly appreciate it, and on with the show. When I look at Instagram, if I just start scrolling, I feel like literally 50% of it is like I'm being sold something.
yeah, it's a market.
Some product, right? 30% of it is like a scope into like a world that I would never know, like celebrities and wealth and all this other stuff. Some girl out in the beaches of Dubai or whatever, and I'm just like, how do I even? Why are you in my algorithm? You know what I mean? And then 20% of it is like the people that I know, like the actual people that I follow and stuff like that. And I think to myself, when I had MySpace back in the day, I had maybe 200 friends. Chances are every single one of them were from my school, and we would just use that to like comment and post pictures with like basically amongst us. It was a way for us to communicate with everybody when we weren't physically available to one another. And back then, the cell phone was tied to like the phone numbers that you knew. So like if I didn't have your phone number, I couldn't contact you. But if I had your MySpace, I could still contact you. Granted, I could have got your phone number, but you know what I mean. But it's also a way for like, it was a way to have like a public forum. So like instead of me texting you, hey buddy, how you doing? I can message you on your board, like how you doing, buddy? And then you can answer, then everybody else can see. So it was like for the first time, like a big group chat, right? Well, now I feel like social media is none of these things.
Yeah.
It's just an amplification of the best parts of our lives, which simultaneously makes people immensely more depressed, and then feels like, keeping up with the Joneses on steroid. And then it's just like this big marketing push. I had Skylar on, and after we were done, he was telling me like, you should do this for your algorithm. And then if you change this setting on your Instagram, like these people will get you and you'll grow. And I was like, yeah, but I really don't give a fuck about any of that. Does that make sense?
Is that the goal? Like that's what I would ask is like, but that's what I think a lot of, I think Instagram is particularly Instagram is just like a highlight reel is like mostly how it's used because it's like, it seems like it's so much a market, all the time. Well, even if it's just for your own personal, like just you, people are trying to like advertise themselves of like, to their friends even. Like it's like it becomes this competition, it's this weird thing where it's, comparison is a thief of joy. And like you were saying, it's like everybody's just comparing their highlights.
It's a rat race.
Yeah. And it's like, what is even going on here? And you were just talking about the guy was saying that, like, oh, you could grow your followers. And that's what I was trying to allude to before we started a second ago was just like, I just don't know. I'm like, dude, I might be totally fucking up. And like, maybe I'm totally supposed to do that. And I still do look at it a little bit that way of like, especially for me, I know it's a great tool to like market myself for fighting. And I really do need to do that. And I try to do a good job with it. Like I do look at it like a job. Like I'll be honest with you, I do not like social media at all. Like if I could, I would just completely opt out. And not that I can't. It's not like anybody's going to force me to do that, but like I think I would really be.
There's a direct correlation to monetary value for you, though.
Yeah, I think
that's
it'd
the part
be
that sucks.
a real mess up, not taking advantage of it. But anyways, yeah, I look at it like legitimately like a job. Like it's like I need to construct like a highlight reel, of like. But I feel like for the average person, or just even myself, if I'm like trying to be just have a social network with my friends, like you were saying, like kind of what MySpace or any of those other things used to be. It's not that, I'm not like, most of my feed is like people I'm not even in daily contact with, you know, or just like getting.
Well, how many people do you think on any given day you interact with, like conversate with on social media?
Dude, well, it depends on if I get on my phone that day. A lot of times like I said, I would like to just opt out. I really do a bad job even getting on my phone that much anymore. Anyways, I try
Probably
to,
better for your health.
dude, it's significantly better, and that's why I don't do it. And but I'll try to get on my phone at like the end of the day and like go through my messages and stuff like that. So,
I envy that, dude. I this thing is like attached to my hand now,
dude, I hate
but
it.
not for social media. But like I have to be.
Yeah.
People have to be able to get a hold of me.
It's so distracting, and even like neurologically, like the way our brain works, right, is like there's a reason why we're not good at multitasking. You know, I've heard a lot of people say like there is real no such thing as multitasking. You're just like half-assing a bunch of stuff. Like you're not. It's
Who
really,
said that?
I mean, I don't even know, but I don't even remember. But actually,
I could not disagree more, though.
I'm pretty sure I'm listening to that on Huberman.
Huberman?
Yeah.
Could not disagree more.
But anyways, but he was just saying you can't actually focus on more than one thing at a time. Like you can only
That's
focus.
just a wild statement. Of course you can. That's just like I'm not trying to sound rude when I say this. You can't focus on two things at the same time. You do that every time you fight.
No, I mean,
Every
I get what
time
you're
you
saying,
fight, you're
but you
focused on
can't
what?
be
Your opponent and
but
yourself.
You can't be. It's hard to be really deeply focused on.
Maybe two separate tasks?
Yes.
That's still stupid. Can you have a conversation and drive your car?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess you're right.
I'm sorry. Like, I'm not trying to
No,
be
no,
like
no,
rude.
no,
you know what I mean?
100%,
But like, if someone
100%.
was like, "You can't multitask," I'm like, "Watch me!" Like, I'm gonna do it right now.
But you're giving up a certain. You can't. You would be better.
I think
there's a higher level of productivity.
I think if you're
towards
adding
focusing on
additional
one
layers
thing.
to that, like 3, 4, 5 things, yes, you start getting to the point where like, where's the opportunity cost of like, how much am I giving up? But like, yeah, you can multitask. I firmly believe that you should be always able to walk and chew bubblegum. And if you can't, that's a cognitive disability that you have that you need to overwork and then get better at.
Yeah.
And I think that, okay, you said it last time when we were here, but like the brain is a muscle, right? Organ, muscle, same shit. Not really, but you know what I'm talking about here. You can work on your brain just similar to the way you can work in the gym on your biceps or your legs or whatever.
100%.
We were talking earlier about conversations. The more you have, the better you get at it. Well, yeah, it's the same thing with everything. If you're bad at multitasking, guess what? It's going to get you better at it. Multitasking.
Yeah.
So like maybe you start off really bad at like doing two things at the same time. Then you get really comfortable doing two things, and then that's just like the norm.
Yeah.
And then like doing one
you
thing is
add
just
one
fucking
more
easy.
and- yeah.
Then you're like, okay, well maybe I could do 3 and then 4. How do I know this? Ask any entrepreneur. You know what I mean? Ask them if they only do one thing at a time. They'll laugh at you.
No, I agree and understand what you're saying. And
Sorry, Huberman.
No. And I'm sure I'm just fucking this up, but anyways, I believe there's like a difficulty in our brain to like whenever we're trying to deeply focus on something to switch to deeply focus on something else. There's an adjustment period where we're not going to be able to just snap right into like deep focus on something else. There's like a transition period where it's almost like you need to re-warm up for like a workout.
I think that's just a broad statement that one can make that I don't necessarily agree because of anecdotal dissonance. Like, you don't know that with people. Does that make sense? I can't say because I can multitask well that everyone should be able to.
Yeah.
But I also can't say that like,
The opposite.
for me, it's difficult to go from something I'm very focused in to go to something else. Some other guy might tell me like some ADHD guy is like, dude, I'm focused on 20 things all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I think...
See, I would just say though, like, how really focused are you though on 20 things at one time?
That's a broad... Yeah, you're not wrong.
Because to me now, I'm just huge on like quality over everything. Like,
Explain.
like deep work as opposed to wide, shallow work.
Okay, but deep work into what? Like, give me
anything.
some...
Literally, I think that like almost any single thing that we chose to place our attention and our focus on, whether it's like work, whether we're thinking about something, anything, there's just so much, there's so many levels to everything that just like throwing a jab, for example, it's like, okay, I'm gonna throw a jab. But like if I I mean, I guess it's kind of like a philosophical way of thinking about it, but like, okay, I think I should like pause and like, how deeply can I analyze this jab? Like every single bit about it, like, and feel every single little movement in my body. And that's gonna come, I mean, in my opinion, come from like unbelievably deep, focused attention of like, oh shit, the more that you practice it, right, the better you're going to get at the skill. Deeply focusing on one single thing, I think, is a skill that is not very well used now because we are so multitasking and focused on multiple things that it's really, really hard. Our mind wants to be stimulated, right? It would much prefer to be stimulated as to not stimulated, right? That's why we have such a hard time with like just sitting still and why meditating is so difficult, right? Because our brain is like,
For who?
hey, this is boring as fuck.
Hold up. For who?
I guess like we were saying earlier, if you haven't developed that skill, it's difficult.
I would say that fighting for people that have never trained fighting is hard.
And there's a million levels to it.
Exactly.
Right? There's an infinite amount of levels to it. But it all comes from the deepness of the work. Like I feel like you could go into the gym and throw 1-2s every day for the rest of your life. And if you don't stop and try to think deeper about what you're doing, you're not really going to progress. You're going to reach a certain level of proficiency. And then until you decide to deeply analyze that and go further into the technique and understand it deeper, which in my opinion is done by deep focused, intentional work, right? It's not just like just going in and throwing 1-2s.
While I want to agree with what you're saying, because what you're essentially saying is like developing a niche or like going headfirst into a specific field of choice, whether that's fighting, whether that's engineering, whatever it could be, right? I would also say that having a wide berth of knowledge, both macro and micro, even in that field, is needed. So like, yes, you could sit there and dig into literally infinite numbers of ways to divulge and change a jab, but I would also say that there's some value in like, well, there's also a combination. There's more punches than just a jab.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's like, what has now become more important to you? To work so deeply on your jabs that is the perfect jab and you have no combinations other than just one punch because that's all you know? Or should you now kind of divvy up some of that time? Maybe, a little bit of multitasking.
No, 100%. But I don't think that you're ever going to arrive on like, I think everything in life is much more complex than just having one answer to solve everything, right? So
not necessarily one answer to solve everything, but I guess what I'm trying to say is one path into doing it. For you, it could seem like diving headfirst or getting really deep into the nuance of something is the proper task. When I would tell you that, like, yeah, maybe, and then maybe not as well on other things. I'll give you a prime example. You read. I like to read. I have not opened up a physical book in the last year. But the vast majority of the books that I read now, they're audiobooks while I'm working. Why? If I don't do it that way, I will not read as many books. So now I can auditorially hear the book that I would have just sat down and read while I'm working, knocking two things out at once. Now I get both the knowledge from the book that I was interested in, and I was able to get work done. And then I have more time now to spend with my daughter or do the podcast or all these other things. So like, I think that you can delve into something and multitask and do all these things. I don't think that like, if the limiting factor is your attention or your cognitive ability, then expand it. Like if I told you, you want to be the best fighter in the world, right? Well, this guy works 40 hours a week doing it. So you're gonna have to work at least 40 hours a week doing it, right? That would make sense. Well, what if some weeks he works 35 hours doing that and then 5 hours in recovery? Because this is like a very intense thing on his body, but you stick to 40 hours a week working because that was what you were doing before. I just think that as you get into something, you will start to adapt and change it because of nuance and experience. So at first, like I couldn't do my job and listen to a book adequately. Maybe my job was too stressful and hard and it needed my full attention, right? Well, now it's gotten to the point where like, I know what I'm doing. I can listen to a book. So like, goes back to the comment earlier of like multitasking. It's like, okay, whatever that limiting factor is, break through. You can. Absolutely you can.
Yeah, and I that's actually a really good example too, because I do that all the time. It's like I love listening while I'm meal prepping or cleaning or like whatever, right? And
you ever like cut your hand off because you were listening to a podcast while you were cooking? No.
Yeah, and a lot of it too, like you were saying, is like you develop the skill. Like this is pretty mindless because you've probably subconsciously programmed it into your brain to where it's like this isn't really cognitively
taxing on
effortful, right? So it's not really taxing on your brain. So you've kind of moved it to the back burner and now you can focus your attention on something else. I can focus my attention on listening to this audiobook or whatever, So no, I agree completely. But I do
forgive me. I didn't think we were going to go down this rabbit hole.
No, I love it. And this is exactly what we were talking about earlier. Is like this is why conversations are good, is because now this already immediately made me think deeper about like, oh, maybe multitasking isn't as much of a detriment as I was like, oh, that was just a blanket.
I think efficiency is going to be the commodity of the future. If you're inefficient in everything that you do, good luck.
I know for sure. But also at the same time, I think that the hustle culture idea, especially like this, I always think of like just Americanized hustle culture of just like more, 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 more. And
You hate it or love it?
well, I've been in love with it my whole life because I've always thought about like just doing more. And but now I'm like, okay, I would rather, so the 40-hour work week example you just gave a second ago, like this guy's training 40 hours a week, I should be training 40 hours a week. I would say, what's he doing in those 40 hours? I might be able to get done with the quality of work that I'm doing. What he gets done in 40, I get done in 20. And now I should still use those other 20.
Exactly.
But the depth of my work is so much greater that the amount of time that I put in will, whatever X amount of time I use is going to yield a greater result. So I don't think that guy should be like, oh, he's getting a much better result than me, I need to work more. You don't need to work more, you need to work better. And that's where I think the depth of and the quality of what you're doing comes into play. And now some people might be doing it the other way. You're fucking working 2 hours and you're smoking it. You're just unbelievably intelligent and unbelievably advanced in understanding what it is you're trying to do. So you're able to get done an insane amount of work in a little bit amount of time. And it doesn't mean you should use that other 38 hours to just freaking
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find different ways to be efficient with it or whatever. And then also, we're using an arbitrary number of 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
But like, that doesn't have to be 40 hours, but it's just all example, just a mind,
I heard a quote
mental
from
experiment.
I heard a quote from an individual who's like much more wealthy and successful than I am, and I love it. He said that if you work 40 hours a week, you're terrible at what you do.
Yeah, I mean, makes a
How
lot
are
of
you?
sense to me.
How do you need 40 hours a week to get that job done, or whatever it is? He's like, if you don't find efficiencies, if you don't create some sort of like loopholes or like some common metrics in which like you're kind of running through the same task either at a more efficient process or you're not creating efficiencies in your process, like what are you doing? You're either executing a task mindlessly or you're mindfully executing a task, which will inevitably lead to you creating efficiencies. That's gonna be the outcome one way or another.
Yeah, because it'll move from a conscious effort to where it's like, okay, this is new, this is difficult, to where it becomes, okay, I've gotten so many reps of this. Now it's a subconscious program in my brain. I can do this. Now I can, while I'm doing this, I can focus on something
How hard
else.
was shadowboxing the very first time you were doing it? You were like, okay, I'm going to throw. You were thinking about the combinations you're going to throw. Now shadowboxing is just like a little dance. You probably put some music on. You're just having fun with it, right?
Well, see, and this is going back to what we were talking about earlier. This is where I would say it should still be just as effortful. But now you're not thinking about all the same things. You're thinking about your feints. You like all the stuff to continue to develop, right? So now all the stuff that was before effortful, it's like shadow boxing. I'm like, okay, I need to step my foot as I jab. It's like now you do all that shit autopilot. And now I'm thinking about like, okay, I really need to keep this elbow in, make sure I'm pushing. Oh, I need to really protract my shoulder blade forward as I finish my punch. Okay. It's like you're
adding a different layer of depth to this now.
Exactly.
To keep the stress levels adequate or the same.
Well,
but then the argument would dictate then that would eventually get to the point where that's easy as well.
And then you are paying attention to deep, and that's how you get the deeper levels, right? That's where I think a lot of people mess up it with, like going back to the 1-2 conversation we were talking about. If you just come in and you throw 1-2s every day, and now it's like, oh yeah, I know how to throw a 1-2. It's not hard anymore, dude. It should be hard because you haven't figured it out. There's an infinite amount of levels to it. You're never going to figure it out fully. It's like, okay, what in that 1-2 can I be focusing on now to sharpen this up even better? Whatever I was focusing on is now autopilot, and now it frees up my conscious ability to be able to focus on something else. What else should I be focusing on in this 1-2? It's like, okay, I need to snap my punch at the end a little bit more. Okay, I'm not pulling that all the way back to my face. I'm slow on my return. I'm not in position to be able to counter or have defense afterwards or whatever. And that's just, just an example. But yeah, I just think that the effort is always, the effort is in consciously being aware of a new detail that isn't subconsciously programmed yet, to where neurons that fire together wire together, right? So like
you're a poet.
Like that's not mine. None of this stuff is usually mine. I'm just illegally. I'm
copyright infringement.
Copywriting everything I read and listen to. But like that's literally what we're doing, right? Is like we're signaling. In order for us to do any type of movement or even just for us to talk, there's neurons that are firing in our brain, right? And as those neurons fire in certain patterns together, the more they fire in the same patterns, the more entrenched they get into our brain to where they're easier to fire the next time, right? That's how things become subconscious and effortless, right? And so if I'm throwing like a jab cross, You know, it's like I'm doing this over and over and over again. I've paired all these neurons together in my brain. Now, every single time I think about throwing a jab cross, boom, boom. This
second nature. Now it's not even a thought.
Those line of neurons are going to fire together. And now it could be the wrong line of neurons. Dude, seriously, perfect practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes habit. Perfect practice makes perfect. And
habits also need to be malleable and be able to be like changed. Because I'll give you a prime example of something like this. Fighting to me has been this like overwhelming task where the game is changing so much so shortly because of how nascent MMA is. There were times.
What did you say? Nascent?
Nascent, meaning like young.
I don't think I've ever heard that. Okay.
It essentially means like young, toddler, but like not necessarily a human being. Like it could be a thought. It's a nascent thought, right?
Not developed.
Thank you. Well, appreciate you. Hey, I wanted to go back real quick because the conversation we were going to start with before we went down this rabbit hole, and by the way, I love it, don't get me wrong. You know, obviously you just came off your UFC victory where the favor that you did to the UFC was finally returned to you. So for those that don't know, your very first fight in the UFC was a late replacement fight where you bumped up a weight class, fought at 170 to fight a guy, I believe like a week's notice?
4
right?
days.
4 days notice. So bumping up to 170, fighting this guy, absolute bar burner of a fight. You know, you lost a decision, but you gained a lot of fans, a lot of experience, a lot of notoriety, right? Had a couple of fights in the UFC. Finally, it becomes time for you to get that favor returned to you. And Gage Young comes in, I believe, on like, 3 or 4 days?
Yeah.
Yeah, so similar story. Walk me through that before we even talk about the victory and all that stuff. Having the opponent change, how scared were you at first that the fight was going to get canceled and you weren't going to get an opponent?
Yeah, that was definitely the biggest concern of mine was like, because we were about a week out, I believe. We were like a week out from the fight, and I got a text from my manager saying, dude, our opponent fell out. We're looking for somebody else. And I was like, fuck, dude. I was like, it's probably going to fall through. And
because how close it was to the fight, you were worried.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's so difficult to, I mean, especially with, I mean, you know how the weight cuts are. Like, dude, there's no way. It's so hard. It's almost impossible for me.
You want to know what I hated? When people would say, like, stay ready, don't got to get ready. Go fuck yourself. Do you know how hard it is to hit 135 at my age?
Yeah. Well, I mean, being a week out, too, like, I'm on such low calories. Like, it's greatly affecting the way I can train, my ability to recover, everything I'm doing outside the gym.
Well, what do you walk around at?
Like
when you're training?
185.
185. And you fight at 155. Could you make 155 4 days out walking at 185?
No way.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be...
That would go...
I don't even think I could.
Yeah.
I really do. I hear people doing that, and I'm like, I don't even know
I think that's how you die,
to
be completely honest with you.
Dude,
I think that's how you
had
get
a
the real
hard
bad
time
brain damage.
making 155 as it is. With like, I was dieting hard, you know, really strict for 6-7 weeks this time. I think I got the fight announcement like 7 weeks out, something like that. And I try to be really cognizant of what I'm eating all the time anyways, just for health, you know, not necessarily
weight management, but more
just like making sure
your body's
metabolically
optimum.
my body is taken care of. And so especially with people, I know a lot of people that are like don't watch what they eat at all. But
Brother, I tell you one time,
dude,
after
I remember
Radiance,
whenever you came back to Vinny's, my boy was on swole.
dude, I have...
I know that was whenever you were streaming a lot.
Yeah,
and
bro.
you were like just eating Taco Bell.
Dude, there are 3 guilty pleasures in the world: sex, drugs, and food. I don't do drugs, but boy, do I love food. So, guilty as charged. I always was like, listen, to each their own. I can respect any man that can get in there, right? Especially on short notice. My thing was never like, I would take a short notice fight if it was like a 35er and we agreed, like, can we just come in at 55?
Well, that's what
you know what I mean?
Not this last fight, but the fight before. That's what happened there was I took another fight on 4 days' notice at 170, but it was a 55er. And I was like, bro, why don't we do this all the time? This is awesome.
Just like a gentleman's agreement, like, can we be fat?
Yeah.
A little fat. Let's do a little fat.
I'm like, bro, come on.
Neither of us want to make this weight.
And dude, the water cut the day of weigh-ins, bro, get out of here, bro. That shit sucks.
Before we get back to how difficult is that last 2 pounds?
This is the worst, bro. This last weight cut, I didn't break until it was over. Like, thankfully, thank God. But I was
When
like,
you mean break, you mean mentally.
dude, I was like, I remember I started the weight cut. It was Thursday. We weigh in on Friday morning, 9 a.m. So we'll do usually Thursday night and then finish up Friday morning. So Thursday day, I was 166. And by the time we got to the weight cut time, I was still like 166. So I cut.
Are you
down
miserable
to,
at 166?
I definitely don't have much energy.
Yeah.
But I'm not like dead.
Slumped.
But I'm just like I don't like being around people because everybody is like, oh, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, people think I'm sad or something. I'm like, dude, I'm not sad. I just have no energy.
Nothing's worse than a public sauna. When you're cutting weight, that's some fat fuck trigger.
Fighting?
Yeah, that shit's unhealthy. You're like, shut the fuck up, dude. I don't want to hear this shit right now.
You have a polar pop in the sauna. What are you doing, you dehydrated fuck?
He's talking to you about high school football. Yeah, I was gonna go pro. All right, man.
But no, I was 166 the Thursday, the day before weigh-ins, and then I cut down to 59 and ate a little bit of fruit and rehydrated, drank back to 160 so I could try to get a couple hours of sleep. And I woke up at 159 the morning of weigh-ins. So I had 3 pounds to go to make 156.
When you say wake up, what time? 6 a.m.?
5, I think.
5 a.m.
It
When
was
does the
5:30.
scale opens up at 10 a.m.?
9.
9 a.m. So
Yeah.
4 hours to cut 4 pounds.
Yep.
Ample
3
time.
pounds.
Because you can be 156. Yeah, sorry.
But anyways, we were planning on doing it was probably going to take 3 or 4 hot baths, to
Really?
get down those last 3 pounds, just because we figured my sweat rate was going to drastically slow down after being so low. And anyways, we did a 30-minute bath the first time, and I'm like fucking sucked up, like 159, dude. I'm sucked up. I mean, I'm 185 right now. Being 30 pounds lighter, I'm like fucking almost dead. I'm almost dead. And
Evan gets on the scale. Yeah.
dude, literally, I'm like, get me the fuck off of here, dude. I need some water so bad. I got down to 159 or whatever. I did the first hot bath for 30 minutes. And I get out and I lay on the floor in towels like a cocoon. And,
Can you explain to people, forgive me,
No,
Can you explain to people
Perfect,
why
yeah.
you did 30 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you get out? Why do you do the towels? Because some people might look into this and be like, what the fuck is he talking about?
So we'll do the hot bath. The guy I use, he likes to keep the bath from 104 to 107 to make sure it's just hot enough to make you sweat, but not too hot to where we're cooking ourselves, because then
I've made that mistake before. Dude, I needed my wife to drive me to weigh-ins.
Yeah.
I fucked up bad.
I
I thought if I make it hotter, I'll sweat faster. I'm good.
Well,
I think I
we all
cooked myself
think.
for 20 minutes. I'm like, I can't feel my feet.
Yeah. Well, that's what we all think, and then we get our internal body temperature way too high,
Yeah.
and then our body literally resists even letting go of water, because it's like, bro, I'm literally about to blow up. What are you doing?
Have you ever had a bad cut to where the second you got off the scale and you started rehydrating, you broke out into a sweat?
No, I haven't had that.
Dude, I've had a couple of those.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I had one where I rehydrated too fast and I threw up. My stomach was like, what?
The nutritionist guy that I use, he makes me drink over a certain amount of time. So 1 liter at a time, but you have to drink it in 20 minutes. You shouldn't finish it before that 20 minutes is up. Gotcha. You should take one little sip at a time. And dude, it helps. Dude, it's really hard.
Yeah, it's discipline.
But it helps a ton, because every single weight cut I've ever done, dude, every time I go to rehydrate, I'm like, oh, dude, it literally feels like somebody's ripping your stomach out from the inside, because your stomach is so shrunk. Yeah. And then you just start slamming water, and it's just not ready for it. And that really affects your ability to rehydrate and to refuel. So doing it, if you can do it incrementally over a couple hour time frame. So we'll do 4 1 liter bottles of water, so a gallon, over the course of, it's 20 minutes on. So 20 minutes to drink the liter, and then 20-minute rest, just let it digest and get your body rehydrating, and then start the next one. So it's 20 minutes, 20 off, 20 minutes. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 160. So it's 3 hours of just drinking a gallon of water. And then you can get into snacking. Then you'll have your first real meal. And then, now you're approaching
That was always the assumption that people had around me. They're like, oh, I'm sure you're so hungry. I'm like, listen, dude, if you put a chicken wing in front of me, it wouldn't do anything. If you put a glass of water in front of me, I'll fight to the death for it.
To go back to what we were talking about, though, about the
last
mummy
3
or
pounds.
cocoon.
Yeah.
So you get in the water to raise your internal body temperature just enough to get you to sweat, not too much to where you're internally overheating, because then your body's going to resist sweating. And then to give your body a break, like to let your nervous system decompress, we get out of the actual heat element, whether it's a sauna, the hot bath, whatever you're using, and then just lay in a thing of towels or blankets, whatever you want to use, to let your body be out of the heat, but you wrap yourself up to where you're not letting go of the heat that your body's already
or at the very
producing.
least, doing it slowly.
Yes, yeah, trying to make the most of the sweat you already have without while removing yourself from the actual stress of being in the heat.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a relaxing period. It's like thank God I get to get out for a minute, you know.
And breathe that cool air.
Yep. And
Dude, I can't fucking do sauna. I can do saunas whenever I'm like not doing that last cut. But that last 5 to 10, it was hot baths. I hated getting my fucking head hot. And the very first time I realized like, oh, I can just take hot baths and cut weight. Game changer.
That's why I think that's why it's so good is you, because I think one of the biggest problems we face with like cutting weight is raising our internal body temperature way too much.
Yeah.
And because like we said,
dehydrate the shit out of our brains.
Yep, and that's what signals our body to like, yo, this isn't cool anymore. Like I need to stop this. Whatever I'm doing, like stop doing this. But when you're breathing in the hot air, it internally heats you up way faster than if your head is out of whatever heating element you're using, and you can breathe cool air to where you're not overheating your head.
Dude, sometimes I would take an ice pack or like put ice in a towel
And
then breathe in through that. So like my body is sitting there in like fucking hot ass water. But at the very least, like every breath I'm taking is like a kiss from God. Like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then I always thought to myself, like, as long as I can remain conscious, this is gonna sound really fucked up. As long as I don't lose consciousness, I won't die. Like, because like I was, you know, like, sometimes I would cut weight alone. You know what I mean? It's like during the day, people are at work, so like I got to do this. I got the last 5 pounds, and I thought to myself, I would tell people, I'm like, text me. If I don't fucking respond, call 911.
Somebody come find me, bro.
Dude, I had an apartment one time. God bless. I need to tell you this story. So I'm taking a hot bath first of all, I'm like you, 135. I'm like maybe 138, right? I got 3 more pounds to go, and I'm like, I don't look good,
Dude,
right?
yeah.
So I do my hot bath, and I was gonna sit in the towels, but then I step on my scale, 136. I go, fuck this shit. It was winter, so I'm in like underwear. It's snowing outside. I'm just sitting outside
Dude,
in my
100%.
underwear in front of my apartment, and like my neighbor is like walking in. She's like, just sees me like I'm like emaciated
need to
in my
call the
underwear.
authorities?
Yeah, she's like, are you like on drugs? I'm like, sorry,
I'm on the best
like,
drugs
just
right
don't-
now.
I
The
was like,
snow
just-
feels fantastic.
I was like, just don't talk to me. She's like, are you good? I go, I will be in like 4 hours. I'll never forget that day because I remember I was like, these people probably think I'm fucking nuts, but they're not wrong.
I was just about to say, yeah,
It
they
is
are.
fucking nuts. You're pushing yourself to the brink of death, literally, to make some arbitrary number just so that the very next day I can be 30 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
What do you fight at? Like, you weigh in at 155. What do you think you fight at?
78 is
Yeah.
usually what I get back in the.
I'd hit
cage
50,
at.
52. And I'd weigh in at 35. That night, I'd be back to 50. Weight cutting is so wild and dangerous, dude.
Yeah.
It's the one thing that I hate about fighting more than anything. When people tell me, like, you should get back, I'm like, fuck that.
Dude, it's the worst part, but I'll tell you what. Well, for one, this is why I think the Bible talks about fasting so much.
Discipline.
Dude, like disciplining your flesh of, man, as much as it sucks, it's so, I feel like everything is just a battle between our flesh and our spirit for the most part, but like comfort and discomfort, you know, choosing one or the other. Like, what are you doing? Which one are you going to choose? You know, one comes with momentary pleasure, feel good, and then you have to pay on the back end of the discomfort, or vice versa. You choose to be uncomfortable in the moment of some capacity, whether even if it's just, I look at that a lot too, of like, even like the meditating or reading a book or whatever, our mind, it's greatly less stimulating than something we could be doing. So it itself is a form of discomfort, right? If I'm reading a book, way less stimulating than if I could be scrolling on Instagram.
Yeah, but here's my caveat to that. I have a friend who reads like exclusively smut novels, and
What is
like
that? I don't even
it's
know what you
like
just said.
like erotic novels.
Oh, smut?
Smut. Yeah,
I don't know what that-
So
I've never
she's
heard
like that's like her fucking thing, right? And I would venture to say that like reading for her is the opposite of discipline. It's indulging.
And I'm sure anything could be like any.
Well, that's what the thing, right? It's like when you were talking about discipline. There's some people that are fucking They like that shit.
Yeah, yeah, and
To each their own.
that's a good point too, because going back to the deep quality of work I was talking about earlier is I feel like even hard work, like effortful physical work, when you get really accustomed to it, is no longer that hard, right?
It's
Like if
euphoric.
it's, but it no longer is as difficult as it was. So you're not reaching the level of discipline that you need.
Or discomfort, you mean?
Yeah, the discomfort.
Running
which
your
is
first
discipline, I
mile
think.
is not as hard as running your 100th mile, as running your 1,000th. You get used to that. So what do? Maybe you turn up the speed on the treadmill, or you try to run the
Or
mile
add a weight
faster,
vest or
or
whatever.
add a weight vest. So
Yeah.
you'll introduce new stresses, new
Yep.
discomfort,
Yep.
or just run
Why-
2 miles.
why
I don't
we-
know.
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember what we were talking
We're talking about essentially, I don't think weight cutting is good at all. The caveat to that is the discipline. And I'll say this too, like, on my way to 135, when I was like 150, 145, loved my frame. I was healthy, I was lean, I was strong, and I was like, man, like, I wish I could just fight 50, 55. But then there's motherfuckers like you at 55. So I was like, I guess I'll go fight at 35. You know what I mean? I wish that, like, the way the ONE FC does it with the hydration clause and everything, and how they basically bump everybody up a weight class. I think if
would be
everyone
nice.
had a gentleman's agreement, like, hey, let's all
But,
just bump up
dude, when you're
one.
competing at the elitist level,
Yeah.
for, like it's just never like imagine the thinking that way in like business. Let's just like make a gentleman's agreement. Like nobody's gonna try to screw each other.
Here's the bad part about
Like,
that. They do that. It's called an oligarchy.
What?
Yeah, an oligopoly. They'll get together and they'll price fix. It's very
okay,
illegal,
that
but
makes
they'll do
sense.
it.
But still, even then, they're probably shaking hands and they're like, hey, we're gonna play it cool. And like, I guarantee any chance they saw that if they thought they could get away with something behind people's back that was going to benefit them, they would do it, right? Like that's what happens at the highest level of competing. Like people are just ruthless. And I think that no matter what, people are always going to try to find little loopholes and ways around things, and it's just going to be difficult to find any system that is like bulletproof.
No, yeah, I agree. I'm not
so
saying that I
it's-
have the solution.
Yeah, it's
All I'm saying is I don't like weight cutting.
agree. I mean, dude, I don't either. But so what I was trying to say with all this, I get so sidetracked. I'm terrible.
I'm derailing you. Forgive me.
No, you're good. The weight cut is really good for separating you from your flesh, for like choosing short-term discomfort for long-term joy and happiness, right?
And if you cut a lot of weight, you'll be separated from your flesh forever.
Yes, if you do it enough, you will be separated from your consciousness quickly in the fight, and maybe eternally. But let's hope not. But unfortunately, I mean, it has happened.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
I think
people, like,
weight cutting
literally
has killed
died.
more people than fighting.
I would believe that.
Yeah. I mean,
And,
when you talk about
dude,
the dehydration of the brain and then the immense trauma that you're about to receive within 24 hours, I can tell you that like my ability to take a shot when I'm like 170 pounds is just different from when I'm 145.
100%.
And it has everything to do with like
and
the
your-
hydration
your-
of my
the-
brain.
And I just think the quality of your nervous system.
Yeah.
Like your nervous system just went through a gigantic stress the day before, and it's not going to be as efficient or optimal after going through that the next
Unless
day.
you got a team behind you that knows how to get you down and get
And
you
that's
back
part
up.
of it too. And that's part of
Yeah,
it too. That's
the
part
science
of the, that's
aspect.
part of the competition. That's something I actually enjoy for myself. Is like I think that the months of discipline leading up into it is itself a part of the fight, in the sense of like we should keep weight cutting because it's a part of the fight. Everybody's going to try to find a way to cheat to get as low as they can to have any competitive advantages they're going to have, or as they can anyways. But it's like I'm going to reap the reward of being ridiculously disciplined months out on my diet and my sleep and my training habits and my lifestyle habits. And I'm going to reap the rewards of that, of having a better weight cut to be able to perform better than you are if you were a little bit less or more lax with your nutrition, or waited longer, or you don't have great sleeping habits or whatever. Now you're gonna have to sacrifice more of your nervous system to make weight, because you're gonna have to do more of a drastic cut. You're not gonna be able to refuel, rehydrate, and replenish as good the next day. So even if like you're a little bit better of a fighter, I have a little bit of an advantage in a different aspect of just being able to show up to the fight in a higher quality than you are.
Yeah.
even if you're a better fighter, being the one that can, that's just another, that's half of the element of what makes fighting so hard. It's not just the skill development in the gym. You see it all the time. There's dudes that are fucking world class world beaters in the gym, and they can't put it together under the lights. For one, maybe the weight cut. Maybe they kill themselves with a weight cut. They're undisciplined, because that's part of a lot of times what comes with being very talented or gifted is you get really good at doing things, so you don't necessarily always have to work the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to work hard. You don't have to exercise the discipline. And so then when it comes time to be disciplined, you don't have it as much. So
can I add to that though?
Yeah.
I think that you're hitting on something when it comes to MMA itself is kind of its own beast. I'm sure with other sports, there's other variables I wouldn't necessarily know. Hey, I'm not judging you.
My bad. I thought there was a separate cap on this.
We often say that there's like guys in the gym that are like world beaters, and then they go out to compete and they fucking suck, or they can't put it together, or they get nervous, and all these other things. I think it's a reflection of all the extracurriculars. Discipline in a weight cut and all that, it could be one, but I think the other thing is the discipline in their work ethic and how they train as well. Because I know 100%. Some guys that don't necessarily cut as much weight, they still do fine. Some guys cut immense weight, they go out there and they still look like shit. Like I don't necessarily think that the weight cut has given them a competitive advantage because they ran it on red for so long to get to that weight class. I think what you're really hitting the nail on the head though with the sport of MMA is experience. And for me personally, I know that I had won fights that I should have lost because I was more experienced than the person that was in front of me. Maybe they were the better athlete. Maybe they were younger, stronger, faster, and all this other stuff. But I was able to come out on top because I was able to put it together better that night. Now, that being said, there were also some fights that I lost that I thought I was going to win. You know what I mean? So that calculation is so fucking hard to do. And I think MMA is the hardest sport to be undefeated in. MMA. Because there's so many fucking ways to lose.
I think it's the closest, most relatable thing to life. And life is just the infinite.
You're not a father.
I mean, that is true. I'm not
fighting is easy, dude. My toddler fucking kicks my ass.
I'm sure that is, as far as competitive sports go, I think fighting is the most closely relatable to life.
Yeah. Andrew Tate has that famous quote of like, you can train yourself to be like a world class like fighter, and you can defend yourself and your family and all this other stuff, or you can put a ball through a net.
Yeah,
it's like, which one do you want to put your time into?
Yeah. It's like the answer's obvious.
Yeah. Some golfer is gonna be like, go fuck yourself.
With that being said, bro, you know what else is fucking stupid? Is like fighting for glory, like not like an organization.
No,
but
not
like
glory. Yeah.
For the recognition, you know, or doing it because it's cool or a better thing. It's like, dude, you know what else is cool? Having a shit ton of money to be able to take care of your family to where they don't have to worry about nothing. And that's way cooler than getting your hand raised in the cage. I would rather be sinking fucking free throws and being a pussy and with a shit ton of money, making sure my family can eat, than like being a broke UFC fighter.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's just as much glory in that, you know? It's, I don't know. We'll always, I feel like there's always, we'll always find a way to.
No, I want to dig into this. I want to dig into
on
this.
anything.
No, I want to dig in this. I want to dig into this if you don't mind, because, and we'll get back to the fight because I do want to talk to you about KC.
Yeah, was there a question that you asked that I didn't answer?
We're gonna get back there. Listen, I'm enjoying this. I do want to ask you that because I agree with you 100%. But if you were to ask young fighters, like a lot of them are ego driven. A lot of them would say like they like the fact that they're taking pictures in the cage and all this other shit. Win, lose, or draw. How many guys do you know that are like, I hate to say this. I'm not trying to belittle any fighter. Anybody that steps in the cage, you have my respect. I just want you guys to know that. However, there are the guys that we would label like journeyman losers, right? Who are basically just going out, doing this shit to make like $1,000 and get, essentially, you know, throw a haymaker for the first minute of the first round. If it doesn't work out, whatever, I'm going to leave with a travel check and in my purse, right? So to you, you're saying that like, I'm not doing this to be known as like Evan Elder, UFC fighter, or Evan Elder, the Beast, or whatever. You're doing this because this is like the path that you have chosen to make a means for you, yourself, your life. This is how you earn a living, is through fighting, is through combat. And that if someone were to offer you the easiest fight for the most amount of money, I'm assuming you would take it.
Yeah.
And you're not necessarily looking to take on the toughest challenge for the least amount of pay.
Yeah, 100%.
Does that make you a coward? Or does that make you intelligent?
I think it goes both ways. I think that I I see now. I ran into a wall for a minute of like being really frustrated with myself and at fighting, just because I'm like, dude, I've still been broke, you know, and I'm like, dang, dude, I feel like I've dedicated everything to this, and which is probably why I'm broke. But I know it. I don't even know if we were recording yet when we were talking about fighters, you know,
We weren't.
holding pads for 20 minutes, or
Yeah.
$20 an hour. You know, it's like, dude, how many guys really try? You know, and you know, that's to be debated too, because I really am big on going back real quick, just to take a step back. The mindset part you were talking about with like the experience and stuff like that, when we were talking about the weight cuts, dude, I think you're training all the time, like all the time. Like Bruce Lee's talking about, like, when you're training, you're training. When you're eating, you're training. When you're sleeping, you're training. When I'm reading books, I'm training. When I'm freaking choosing to not go out and party, I'm training. Like, that's all part of training. Like, that's you need to be a champion. Not just I just saw a sick video with Benson Henderson running around the mat after practice, you know, talking to everybody about like what you're doing. He's like, you're on the mats for 2 hours a day. He's like, you think that's going to make you a champion? It's what you do with the other 22 hours in the day that's going to make you a champion. And like, truly, so to get back on to what I was saying with like me being upset with fighting for a minute, of like,
You were frustrated with it.
yeah, just I was thinking, because, dude, ever since I first started, like, ever since I was little, I'm sure there was a big part of me that was super ego driven, of like, man, I can't wait to be the shit. I can't wait to have money. I can't wait to have cars and stuff. But there's always been a gigantic part of me is just like, dude, I can't wait to be so great that I inspire my family to be great. And like, I have enough money to where I can take care of my sisters and you're just out of love, you know. It's like, I just want to be great, to do great things. I want to do great things for people I don't know. I would just want to make a positive impact in the world.
You don't think you inspire them without the money?
No, I do, for sure. And then, I mean, to get deep, I guess, for a second, I ran into where I really, this wall kind of came up, was because I started realizing how all the material stuff is worthless. Like, it really is. Like, it's like, dude, you can have all the money and the riches and the material stuff in the world you want, you can still be miserable.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, that stuff doesn't really count for much then, right? It's the riches of the spirit. Like, that's literally the only thing that actually matters, because otherwise you can have the whole world and it feel worthless, right? But anyways, I was like, the things that really matter, you know, health and being healthy,
The shit you
being
can't
happy,
buy. The shit you can't
the
buy.
things you cannot put a monetary value on is like truly the most valuable things, right? Relationships.
No, there's things you can't buy. It's not about monetary. I can't buy love. I cannot buy someone to love me.
Mm-hmm.
You're correct with what you're saying. Everything I have, if you were to put it on a scale and you put my daughter on that scale, times that by infinity, my daughter's still heavier.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
and
would.
I can't buy that. It was
There's no
all
price
the
tag.
other things that I did in my life, the sacrifices, the discipline, all these other things. Me and my wife got married. We have a beautiful child. Hopefully we'll have beautiful children. You know what I mean? But you're not incorrect. Like, yes, 100%. And that's irrespective of anything like monetary, right?
And it's way deeper than that too, I would say, because you can go freaking, there's plenty of people with a child or children that don't have good relationships with their children. And it's, as sad as it is, it might not be the most valuable thing in their life, you know, because
I disagree.
even
if you have an awful relationship with your parents, they gave you life.
No, it's still, no, 100%. It should be.
Yeah.
But the quality of person you are, it still goes deeper than just reproducing, you know, blowing a load on
Agreed,
somebody
agreed.
and having a child.
There's more to it.
Right?
I agree.
The quality of person you are is going to directly impact and relate to the quality
Well,
of
let me
relationship
put it
you
this
have
way.
with your
There's a
child.
right answer to that question. Is like monetary gain or your children. If you're not choosing your children,
100%. Yeah.
Sorry,
There's-
you're
the
a shitty
relationships,
person.
relationships over everything. Like, relationships are the most important. Even if you're unhealthy,
over everything.
I think so. I mean,
What kind of relationship? Okay, I like you.
I've seen.
I like my car too, brother.
Yeah.
We have a relationship, right? If it was like, hey, be best friends with Arion, or here's a Bugatti.
Well, I mean, hey, listen. Is this a hypothetical? Am I actually
Is it
gonna get a
red
Bugatti?
or
Yeah,
black? What's the color of the
I'm playing.
Bugatti?
I'm playing. No, but
No, I
but
understand what you're trying to say, but relationships come in tiers.
but if you had, bro, you.
I didn't say that about
have,
my I love you, Andy. I didn't say that about my brother. I love my brother. But like, I have to make money for my family. So like
Yeah.
for my brother, there is that scale there of like, well, how much
And
wealth is
and of
like
course,
legacy
it's
wealth?
very, very multifaceted.
And then my friends, sorry boys, that scale starts to diminish, right? So it's like you're not incorrect, but like let's not also like overemphasize, because I do subscribe to money is not everything. However, I've been broke and I've had money.
Dude, I'll be
I choose
honest
money
with you,
every time.
I think that I mean, I might be completely backwards on this, but I really think God is so greatly, perfectly designed the world. We talk about this all the time. Perfectly in all of its imperfections, right? It's the imperfections, it's the hard things, the difficulties, just like legitimately the things that we don't like about this world is what actually even brings it any meaning and gives us appreciation and love for the things that we do like, right? And I really think God has perfectly designed the world enough to where like every single individual human experience can be just as good or just as bad as any other. You know, I shouldn't say. I'm sure there's some caveats to that. There's
pick a time in
really
history,
bad-
pick a
there's some
certain
really bad-
demographic of humans.
Well, and that's actually a time in history. So that's a good representation of what I'm trying to say. Is like going back to the Bugatti thing, right? I'm sure it'd be so sick whipping it in a Bugatti, right? You're probably like fucking high as balls like, driving around in this Bugatti. But I think if you were in a horse and carriage back in the day and nobody else had a horse and carriage, like, bro, you'd be like,
Let's go, Betsy.
dude, you'd be big balling. And but the level of like excitement would probably be like the same. Like your experience with that,
Okay.
I think would be like similar to like somebody.
You're saying it's comparable. Okay,
Yes.
fair.
And anyways, I don't even know how I got off on this, but I think that to go back to the relationships things what we were talking about, there's definitely tiers to it,
Yeah.
right? It's like your closest, more immediate family, like circles, right? Like bigger and bigger circles. I'm sure as you get further out, you know, it's like acquaintances. You know, it's like
Not that
I
I would
might
ever
be
choose.
choosing the Bugatti over some.
Not that I would ever
acquaintances.
choose monetary
But-
wealth over a human. What I'm trying to say is where I weigh these things personally.
Yes, and it's not like you're trading their life. Like,
Yeah,
hey, this
yeah,
person's
yeah.
getting offed if you take this Bugatti. But it's like, oh no, I'm just not going to have like an intimate relationship with them. But your intimate relationships are no matter what always going to outweigh that Bugatti, because you could be driving around that Bugatti and if you have nobody, like literally zero people that enjoy being with you and spending time with you, like you were saying, you can't buy love. If there's nobody sitting in the passenger seat that's going to love you, or if there's no kids waiting for you at home to pull into your house, I guess probably freaking mansion that you're pulling into with this Bugatti, like it just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like it really doesn't matter. And now I'm remembering where this started. To get this back on track is I started realizing all that stuff doesn't matter, right? And I'm like, okay, so how can I make my family actually rich? And it's by inspiring them to be better, right? To want to be healthy and to find happiness. It's hard to find happiness within oneself, but it's impossible to find it elsewhere. I love that quote. And so it's like, how can I lead these people that I love so much that I wanted to bring all this monetary gain to, and actually give them the real riches of life? And to me, it ultimately is just coming to God and building a relationship with God, especially through his son, Jesus Christ. But once I started seeing how difficult that could be, of like, man, I've been at this stuff for like 15 years and I feel like I ain't been able to help nobody. You know, like I see my family, a lot of my family doing the same stuff, and like some of them, you know, haven't evolved past the things that are making them unhappy and stuff like that. And then I was like looking at fighting like, dude, I'm still broke. Like, why? If I'm doing this for money, I should be doing something else for sure. Like, this isn't about money. Fighting is not about money to me. If I wanted to make, dude, if I put the same amount of time and effort into
Into an
anything
OnlyFans?
else,
Woo!
bro, listen, my toes would be all over OnlyFans making money. But
I've seen them in the sauna, ladies.
no, they're not great.
It's
I
worth
should
the
probably
five-
go.
it's worth the
Is that a
$5.99.
manicure or a pedicure? They need one of them. But dude, you're freaking the bottom of your feet and stuff gets so tore up from mats. But anyways, fighting is not about money. It's not about that to me. Like legitimately, and this is the great thing that I found out about going through this little rocky patch with fighting was like, oh no, it's not about. It's absolutely not about the money. I've chosen this path because, as cliche as this may seem, I've realized that like my true purpose for being here is just to positively impact the world and other people's lives as much as possible. And that's going to come through the quality
Head
of
trauma?
human being coming through head trauma, the potential.
Jesus loves knockouts. We've said this before.
Yes, but the reality of that being a possibility, the severe damage or whatever, is what makes it so real and what forces you to be the greatest version of yourself. So how I'm going to positively impact the world and other people's lives as much as possible directly weighs on how great of a quality of person I am. And that's going to be found from the inside. You know, I'm going to be bringing that from the inside out, and fighting is my vehicle to reach my maximum human potential.
Can I give you a compliment, and then also I want to ask you a question? So let me start with the compliment before I ask you the question, because the question is kind of an insult. Forgive me. The compliment will be, I think you're one of the wealthiest men I know. And that's because I don't know a single person that has a bad thing to say about you. Do you know how difficult that is?
Thank you.
And that's a wealth into itself. Once again, something you cannot buy. Your reputation, like, I'm not talking about like, you know, they think, oh, you're a UFC fighter, like you're so cool and all this stuff. I'm talking about like everyone says the same thing about you. Such a cool guy, so nice, so caring, always gives me a hug, this, that, or the other. The whole community. You are like the unicorn in the St. Louis community that's just like cool. You can go cross-train wherever you want. You're cool with everybody. Everybody's cool with you. Whenever you're going, everyone's giving you a hug and taking a picture and stuff. I want you to know how rare that is. But it's also a reflection of your body of work with the interactions you've had with everybody. You've taken great care to foster relationships with an immense number of people. So I think that that's a wealth into itself, one that you've put a lot of effort into. So like I wanted to give you that compliment. You're one of you are one of the people that I think has really practiced what they preach, and that's very difficult to do. However, I don't understand why it can't just be both. Why can't you have both of these things? Why can't you inspire? Why can't you be the best? Why can't you make money? Why can't you have all these things? Maybe the answer is that you're only 27 years old and you've only had so many UFC fights. But like, would you still sit here and tell me these things if you were the world champion making millions of dollars per fight?
No, I agree. For one, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, because I again, going through what I was talking about with fighting, there was a moment in time, and it was so weird because I've never in my life, for the past 15 years since I started training, disliked fighting. And all it was I realized I was out of line with my purpose. Was like, because I realized, and I know for sure God let me go through this on purpose, I was just out of line with my purpose, which has always been to much bigger than myself. And because it was just about taking care of other people. Like, I just wanted to take care of my family, my friends, and to ultimately just make an impact on the world before I leave. You know, I've always recognized that how finite life is in general, and I'm like, even more so than just like leaving a legacy. I don't care about if people remember Evan Elder, but I do care about the impact that I made on people to then carry on to make a positive impact on other people. And I just started church Sunday. I really love this. And I think it was like Matthew 18 through 20 or something like that. But basically summed up the mission of Christians is to make followers of Jesus Christ, who in turn make followers of Jesus Christ. And like I was saying earlier, with my purpose being to positively impact the world and other people's lives as much as possible, starting with especially my family, and then, you know, growing outward. The greatest thing that I could possibly do is to get you to look internally and find happiness within yourself, because it's impossible to find it elsewhere. And I think that always comes down to like the deepest level of that, the greatest form of that is your relationship with God through Jesus. But
You didn't answer my question.
what was the question?
Why can't you do it all?
So going back to what I was trying to say, my bad. I was out of line. I
love the notion, but I'm curious on this point because there was a moment in time where I thought that I had to choose.
Yeah.
And then I realized that
you
I could
you
just
absolutely
do it all.
don't. You absolutely don't. And that's where I'm at now. It's like, oh no, this is sick. I'm gonna just do it all.
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
Oh man, it's great we can multitask, right?
Yeah, thank God.
It's a good thing that's possible.
but it's not. But I really don't think it comes from the multitasking. It's incredible deep work all at once. It's incredible deep work in a bunch of different areas, not simultaneously. I mean, I guess you could say simultaneously in the sense of simultaneously within a lifetime, but like I'm not going to focus on deeply meditating to clear my mind so I can listen to my subconscious to be able to understand what I really need to work on while reading a book or like programming something.
You and I on this have a fundamental philosophical disagreement. I love you. I think that's the greatest, like the whole deep thing is like the greatest crock of shit.
Really?
Brother.
Dude, I'm
you
the
can do
complete opposite of
you
that.
can do all things at all times, all the time. That's what I believe. And that every time we say we can't, it is because of a limiting factor. Now, we can overcome limiting factors or not. I'll give you a prime example. For the longest time, I thought that I couldn't like fight and work and foster a relationship and have children and all these other things. But I could, and I was. But then once I lost that last fight, and then I realized I wasn't going to be the best in the world, and that was my dream with fighting. It wasn't like I was saying like, oh, well, you know, I had a kid, therefore I can't fight. Well, there's a bunch of fighters with kids, right? I could do all things. I would figure it out. I would designate the time. I would make it work. Because right now, the things that I'm doing now take way more time than fighting ever did.
So let me pause you real quick, just
ahead.
because I see where our misunderstanding is happening. I agree with you completely. I don't think you can literally at the same time be holding your daughter or playing with your daughter, thinking about fighting and other things you should be doing, and be doing as good of quality of work as a father. And say, excuse me, because I'm totally
No, go
talking
ahead.
out of
No,
line
please.
here because I don't have a
You're
child.
fine.
But with any relationship, if I'm sitting here talking to my sister, if I'm thinking about all the freaking notifications I have on my phone, like, oh my God, I'm so stressed out. I'm not giving her my full presence and love and focus and attention. And for one, I think that's deeply felt, whether we know it or not. Whenever you're not fully present with somebody, like right now, the reason I love being able to sit and talk with you is because a lot of times it demands my complete presence and awareness. Right, this is why deep thinking and thought feels so good, is because it demands your presence, your awareness. Just same thing with like fighting. You have to be so deeply present. You can't be thinking about, did I leave the stove on, or the fucking grocery list.
Well, not on fight night.
But anyways, to get back to what I was talking about, I think 100% you can be the best dad in the world while being the best fighter in the world, while being the best father or husband in the world, while being a great coach, while being a great businessman. But you're not doing all those things at the exact same time. If I'm sitting down to work, I can't be thinking about me driving my kids to practice later or what I'm going to cook for dinner, because now I'm taking away the quality and the depth of work I could be doing in that moment for the work that I'm trying to do, and I'm ruining that by multitasking, by like.
What did you say earlier was Benson Henderson's quote?
It was basically just
What you're doing outside is just as important as what you're doing inside,
Yes.
and that no matter what it is that you're doing, you're training, right?
Yes, everything
Is that
one.
not the definition of multitasking?
See, okay, we must have a different definition of multitasking. I'm thinking of like, here, let me. I'm gonna multitask. I'm gonna have.
You could
this
have a conversation
with
and
you.
be on your phone.
100%.
Now that could be described as disrespectful, but could you do it?
100%.
What's the limiting factor
the
then?
Quality.
What's the limiting factor then? Disrespect. You don't want to be disrespectful.
No.
It's not that you can't do it. It's that you don't want to be disrespectful.
I don't agree with that. I think that by me focusing, I'm not going to be able to. So just like, okay, if I'm going to respond to a text right now, you ever do this to where you're like responding and I'm listening to what you're saying?
Adrian, how often do you talk to me and I'm on my phone?
60% of the time, all the time.
Often, but
100% of the time, it works 50% of the time.
That's right.
However, I agree though, like that there's very little to trade for presence. Like I think
Yeah,
about bosses that are multitasking while you're trying to talk to them, and you're like, just fucking pay attention for 2 seconds.
Yeah, and
So you multitasking.
but what is the definition of multitasking?
Hold on.
Textbook definition? Maybe we should start there.
Well, dude, you know what's so funny is I feel like why not? Like always just start at as far down to the root
Start with
or
the
source as
the
you
root
can,
meaning.
and
Are
then
we
go the
talking
other
about
way.
the same thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I've always thought of
Do you
like,
want the definition?
yeah.
Okay. Oh, I can't. The performance of more than one task at the same time is one, and then two is the execution by a computer of more than one program or task simultaneously.
Okay.
So you say, yeah, a computer can do that.
To-
Deal with more than one task at the same time.
Yeah. To go back to what you were saying about essentially diving deep into something. I agree with everything that you were saying about the euphoria of being able to, kind of throw the extracurriculars or the additional variables of life out the window to solely focus on something. I do think that there is something inherently good in our monkey brains that makes us feel good about that. Duly noted. I would also say, though, that you need to foster and grow the ability to multitask. Because if you don't, you will get left behind by society. That's not a question. That's a statement.
No, I agree. I think you should be able to do both. Just like,
But I thought it was impossible.
no, it's not impossible. But there is a neurological transition period when we're trying to focus deeply on one thing of work, one body of work, and transition to another body of work. A lot of times we can't focus our full depth of awareness directly straight from one thing into another. We have to
Adjust.
We have to readjust.
Realign.
So anyways, we 100% should be able to do both. I should be able to meal prep and have a conversation with my wife and listen for the baby crying in case something's going on.
Yeah,
and
welcome to fatherhood.
I know. I'm trying to paint a picture in my head of what this would be like.
You're doing a good job.
I've seen a lot of movies or shows, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, 100% we should be able to do that. But I think that skill we're way, way, way better at that skill on average than we are at deep work because our brain.
I agree with that.
Our brain, our society, the way that we're, especially in America.
Yeah, we got Zoomer brains, bro. Like everyone's just doom scrolls and fucking memes.
And I've noticed.
Which don't get me wrong, I love a good meme as much as the next man, but like focus on some shit.
So I think so many people are very, very, very unaware of it. Even if you know the words, even if you know, like, oh yeah, this is really bad. Going back to the weight cut, one of the reasons why I thought I benefited a lot this past weight cut just because of the discipline factor of like, for one, I feel like I'm always trying to grow my relationship with God, but again, this is why fasting is so important, is because you get so uncomfortable. And I've realized, dude, all the way leading up into this fight, I was supposed to be fighting somebody else, Ahmad Hassanzadeh, whatever. But no matter who
You did a great job of saying his name, because I'm not lying to you. I looked it up before this, and I was like, I'm not even going to try.
Yeah. Ahmad Hassanzadeh.
Yeah, brother. Whatever.
I
I'll have one of those and then a large soda.
But I was super, super confident, right? And it doesn't even matter about the opponent, really. It's just a matter of like, of just preparing yourself for the single moment of like, dude, if they told me I have to step in the cage with Justin Gaethje or whoever else, it's like, it of course it changes a lot of things, right? And I'm sure I'll be fucking way more nervous to fight Justin Gaethje than most any other person, right? But it really doesn't matter. I'm just preparing myself for being as completely present and locked in to myself as possible and not being pulled into all the infinite amount of distractions, especially in a fight, right? And that's what I think makes a great fighter, is being able to, from not even just a walkout, it's everything. From the moment you get to the venue and the months leading up into it. It's just a matter of how present you can be within yourself. But I just think about, from the moment of the walkout, right? From the walkout, your song comes on, you start walking, the camera's in your face, and they're like, all right, we're walking now, 3, 2, 1, let's go. And you walk out and bright lights hit you and everybody's screaming and yelling. Dude, your mind can be focused on so many other things than where am I at right now? Like, how am I feeling? Let's go. Am I locked in? Are you breathing? Are you focused? Like, what's your game plan? Like, what are you thinking about? And it's so hard to do that, and it's so easy for it to happen the other way, for you to be walking out and being like, unconsciously, your mind slips away from it, and you're like, holy shit, this is crazy. Like, look at oh, dude, there's my dad in the stands. Like, dude, like, holy shit, there's Paul Felder in DC right there commentating my fight, whatever. Everything other than, like,
Zen.
Like, just feeling that breath in your lungs and, like, being completely present and aware to where, like, you're thinking about, dude, as soon as he throws his jab, I'm slipping. Like, because, I'm sure you've had it happen. I think every fighter, I'm sure, has. I know I have a ton of, like, you get into the fight, and by the time the fight's over, you're like, damn.
That was fast.
I wasn't present for any of that. I was just like, my mind was just completely autopilot, right? In which in some regards is kind of good because I think peak performance is using your conscious ability to surrender to your subconscious abilities. Just because our conscious brain is so inferior to our subconscious.
If there's any task that requires like you to be fully present and then also complete that task in a very high stress environment, I don't think you're going to do it adequately because you're going to spend too much time thinking about the next action, the next action, the next action. So I do agree with what you're saying. Some of this has to come naturally over the repetition of, you know, countless hours in the gym or whatever it is that you're doing. So I do agree with you. And I also agree with you with that time sense. I told every fighter that I ever cornered, I said, the fight night is the most like crazy thing because it takes so much time to get to your fight. And then you feel like this overwhelming moment and then the fight is going to go like that.
Yeah.
The rounds are going to feel like seconds. And you're going to be like, holy shit, like it's already over. Okay. Did I win? I
And
hope
it's
I won.
weird because it doesn't feel like seconds when you're in it.
No, it feels like
an
hours.
eternity.
Feels like
And
hours
then
because you're
when-
exhausted.
When you're done, you're like, dude, where did that even go? Is because
You're explaining my sex life now. I'm exhausted. It takes forever. And afterwards, I'm like, we did good, right? And she's like, oh, sure. That was a little shorter than I thought. Hey.
listen, it happens to the best of us. But anyways, I don't even remember.
No. I
how
want to go
got
back to fight
on
night,
top of
and I
all that.
enjoy what you're talking about in terms of like the mentality and a lot of the thought process. I do want to go back to the KC show, okay? Because this is kind of one of the ones where you fought as close to home since you've left fighting at home, right? So like obviously when you were in the local scene, you were fighting for Shamrock and the local promotions. You fought for FAC, so you had fought for over in Kansas City before. So you were familiar with the area. People were familiar with you. It's as a home crowd as it's going to get, if not fighting in St. Louis, right? However, your opponent is from KC on short notice. Walk me through some of what you were talking about earlier. Walking to the cage. Did you feel like the atmosphere of the crowd was with you, against you? Did that even fucking matter? Did you even realize any of this? Or was it all after the fact?
Yeah, dude, that's I wish I could be like I was able to soak it up and enjoy it more, like being more, but honestly it didn't really dawn on me at all.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm just like focused on being so present and like not letting my attention focus on like, oh, I wonder who's in the crowd. But I will say some of the coolest moments of that whole fight was being so present on the walkout. Dude, when my walkout song came on, I was just so happy because I was like, dude, it's finally here. The thing, like the moment you've been thinking about every second of every day to an annoying level of like, dude, I just want to stop thinking about this for a little while. For 2 months, it's like, oh my God, it's all done. All the preparation's done. Like the moment's just finally, it's just no more thinking. Like it's just time to do this shit. Let's go. Like, dude, it felt so good.
Liberating.
And, was that?
Liberating.
Very liberating, dude. No, there's no more, dude. The reason I love my walkout song so much, "Run This Time" by Jay-Z and Rihanna.
That was like a Virgin by Madonna.
Yeah. Like a virgin.
Sorry. All right, run this down. My bad.
But it's like I feel it coming in the air. I feel it coming in the air. Hear the
Thing too.
listen. Hear the scream. Hear the screams from everywhere. You
No,
know, you
keep
got
singing,
the crowd.
keep singing.
Feel it coming in the air. Hear the scream. No.
It's not too
Listen.
late for the OnlyFans, dog. I'm just saying.
No, I'm good. Again, it's not about the money. I'm trying to be a warrior. I'm trying to be the greatest version of myself. The money's gonna come. But I hear the screams from everywhere. Feel it coming in the air. Hear the screams from everywhere. Can't be scared when it goes down. Got a problem? Tell me now. And that's what I always think about is like, you can't be scared. Everything. Dude, it's okay. And I've gave up on the idea of like, oh, I'm going to defeat fear and doubt.
Yeah,
and
good luck with
overcome.
that.
You won't.
When you figure that one out, let me know.
In my opinion, I don't think you will. I just, because I've studied so many amazing people, the best of the best in like many fields. And that stuff never goes away. And again, I think that's part of God's perfect design of like, it doesn't matter who you are, what level of material success you have, you will always be faced with this problem of your flesh and or the enemy in the world, which I think most of the time is honestly just more so. We give the devil way more credit than he deserves, and it's just ourself, and it's just our own flesh causing way more problems than we're aware of. But we will always have these self-defeating thoughts because it will always keep life interesting. Because you will always have an obstacle to overcome, no matter how far ahead you get or whatever, because you will always have yourself to overcome. And, but once I realized that of like, oh, it's not, I was looking at the problem wrong I was trying to find a solution to fear and doubt to completely like overcome it. But it's not about overcoming it. It's just about telling it to shut the fuck up and get in the back, because it's probably going to be there, but I got other stuff way more important to do. I love the quote, courage is not the absence of fear, but the realization that something else is more important. Right. And it's like, oh, it's totally cool. It's totally fine to be fearful. Like, dude, I'm worried all the time. And I think a lot of it's because I care so much. I care so much about making sure I try to do stuff right and do things to the best of my ability, because other people are writing on this. People I might not even know, because my ability to positively impact the world and other people's lives relies on how great of a person I can be, and how good I can do in this life to be able to give back to everybody else. And so anyways, it's not a matter of overcoming it. It's about just realizing that something else is more important. And but anyways, can't be scared when it goes down. Bro, it's okay to be afraid, just not right now.
Yeah.
Not right now. Like, every single bit of fear and doubt, anxiety, anything, it has to go. Like, not right now. Just not right now, bro. And
I would always tell myself,
I love that.
I would always tell myself, shit your pants now, because when you go out there, you want to make sure you don't do it there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, dude, and you're not wrong. Like, I often say there's two types of fear, right? The fear of being hurt and the fear of failure. Fear of failure, welcome to the
Way
club.
worse.
That's
Way
everybody.
worse.
Fear of getting hurt, this is not the sport for you. Get the fuck out. But I like that you kind of bring that up, because it was something that I too tried to, I felt like it was like this hurdle that I could like will myself out of. Like, stop being a pussy, Arion.
Yep.
You're going to get punched. Like, why are you so nervous? Why are you so afraid? Like, and then it took me a while to realize, like, I'm not afraid of getting punched. I was trying to like overcome a fear of something I didn't have. I wasn't afraid of getting punched. I was afraid of getting knocked out and looking like an idiot. I wasn't even afraid of getting knocked out. I was just afraid of losing and looking like an idiot. So like, it wasn't until I just told myself, like, you know what? I signed up for this. Like, nothing is guaranteed. I can go out there and get spinning heel kicked in the fucking face in the first 5 seconds, and boy, would that suck. But I signed up for this.
Yep.
Get over it.
Yep.
At least.
And dude, honestly, I think there is a fear of getting hurt, dude, especially at a high level. The number one.
You have a fear of getting hurt in a fight?
Dude, I don't think that. Again, I think there's a constant battle between our flesh and our spirit, and or our soul, either one. But our flesh will always be afraid because it's doing its job.
Yeah,
like,
but that's okay. Hold up. I'm gonna take a step back. When you go to a fight, you're thinking to yourself, "Hope I don't get hurt."
no.
Okay.
But my body is.
Yeah. Come
See,
on.
you know what I'm saying,
A
though?
willpower over that.
But that's
Fair. Sorry.
That's
Okay,
the
okay.
willpower,
Forgive me,
right?
forgive me.
That's your
I
spirit.
thought you were about to tell me, like, yeah, man. I was like, whoa, man. I take back that comment I just made.
No, this dude really is soft. But no, I think that, again, going back to like, trying to figure out how to overcome doubt, or fear or whatever, anxiety, it's not going to happen, right? You just have to accept that and tell it to shut up, because it's not going to go away, and the reason one of the best examples of this to me is Max Holloway on Rogan after he fought Gaethje, right? Had that insane fight, almost flawless performance, right? And then sleeps him in the most insane moment, like literally straight out of a movie. UFC 300, sleeps him last second.
Top 2 greatest finishes I've ever seen in my life.
Ever, right? And he was talking on Rogan how he's in the back and he's like pacing. He's like, dude, what the fuck am I doing fighting Justin Gaethje? Like, bro, this
Before
is
the
crazy.
fight. Before the fight.
One of the greatest fighters of all time.
Shitting his pants right before.
Shitting his pants. And it's because our flesh will never let us live it down. Like, we can't escape it. And
Can I tell you something?
What?
Because you don't know this yet. It's a feeling I miss. Whenever I start thinking about, whenever I start getting that itch to go back to fighting, it's not about like money or anything like that. It's like I miss that like visceral, oh shit moment in the back.
I think it's because your spirit knows that's where everything great lies. It's like, I have to test my faith because that's where I think that's the ultimate antidote to fear, right? Is faith. Is like, if you didn't have a faith that was greater than your fear, the fear would completely prevent you from even doing whatever it is.
I don't know, Evan. I don't think that. You want to know what I think more than anything? I think it's more primal than that. I think men need that. I think that if I live a life too docile and easy and I have all the amenities to me, I need to be reminded, oh shit, I could get fucked up. I better tune in. It's just not this. There's nothing else I've ever done in my life that feels the same way. Because it's the closest that I can come to dire physical consequences for my actions without dying, right? It's like I can go, with a wad of cash, walk down Washington Avenue, and I can get fucked up pretty fast, right? So it's like, it's not necessarily that I'm looking to like have a bad time, quote unquote. It's more like,
You're looking to progress.
yeah, dude, not getting the raise you wanted at work, that sucks. Maybe you applied for a job and you didn't get that second interview, that sucks. You're going out with a girl, you thought it went well, she didn't call you back, that sucks. Getting you ass beat in front of all your friends and family,
Really
pretty
sucks.
up there for that sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that overwhelming, like, oh shit. I don't know how best to describe it other than this immense feeling of life. I felt so alive when I was fighting. Even the moments that I at the time I was like, man, I want to overcome this or whatever. Now it's funny because like there are moments that I used to look back on that I was like, that kind of sucks. Now I kind of miss. And that's one of them, the nerves. The whole night.
I really think I think that the shit that sucks demands your awareness. It's like when you're in pain, it demands your awareness. Like, and because of that awareness, it brings you present. In the presence, that's where you feel like you're alive. And that's why, because it's almost inescapable. The amount of nerves, the adrenaline, and like the pain, and it makes you so present. And when you're deeply present is when you're most alive. And
Would you recommend that all men fight at least once?
hell yeah,
I do too.
I think
I do too.
I
I
mean,
think we'll make for better men.
yeah, I mean, I think it would just be it's such a good way to combat your ego too. Of just like
Half the
even if-
population will get humbled. Someone's
yeah,
got to lose.
Yeah, a lot of people are. But I mean, it's just the sheer difficulty of it. Dang, that was way more difficult than I thought it would be. Like I thought I would just go in there and just start this dude. But like even before the fight starts, I'm like nervous and shaking. It's like even that itself is super difficult. And but honestly, I say all the time, I'm like, dude, if you are physically capable, every single person alive should train martial arts. I think it's the greatest tool for self-improvement. Just moving your body. Dude, yesterday.
I'll go a step further. I think every woman should learn jujitsu.
I mean.
My daughter, 100%, she will know.
Yeah, any type of martial art.
I just think for certain people it could be like I do subscribe that it's great for like the mental acuity, the physical fitness and all that. Cool. Yeah. Every woman should two things, honestly. Every woman should know how to capably use and maintain a firearm and also learn jujitsu. And if you can't as a woman, please do. Because half of the population is incredibly deadly to you. Like a 13-year-old boy could fuck up a grown woman. Mm-hmm. And I have a daughter, and I'm not going to be present at all times of the day and hours, and one day I'll die, and she'll know how to use a gun, and she'll know jujitsu.
And what I think a giant part of that, too, is the confidence that it brings. I think people don't...
The gun or jujitsu?
Both. But, like, just feeling safe.
No, absolutely.
Feeling safe. And because if you're somewhere you don't feel safe, there's just even if it's like below your conscious awareness, there will be this like looming feeling of tension of like, oh, I can't completely relax.
Yeah.
And when you can't completely relax, like you can't really, it's hard to enjoy things. So I think just the confidence that martial arts builds and brings, and it's not always a good thing because there's sometimes you train martial arts.
There's a lot of white belts that think they can do a street fight.
Yeah,
they're gonna get their face kicked in.
And dude, that and so to go back to what I was saying, I think everybody should train martial arts. I think almost nobody should fight. I know
I think if you train martial arts enough, you never will.
And that's why.
Because like think about
another reason why everybody.
If you were to look
train.
through that inner circle of yours, I bet everybody, one, is a killer, right? Everyone's a fucking killer, and two, they're the ones that get into the least altercations because they're the ones that just don't give a fuck.
Well, also, I think you realized at least for myself, of like and again, the number one scoring criteria in our sport is damage, right? The better you get at what we do, the better you get at hurting people. Because there's a big difference between getting hit and getting hit by somebody that knows how to punch.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're not just like getting hit, like, oh man, that hurt. Like, dude, you might break your fucking face and be unconscious and hit your head on the ground and wake up in a, not awake, in a coma. You know, it's like, there's such serious repercussions, especially in like a real life scenario, a street fight, that once you realize that, you're like, oh, that's not worth it at all.
No.
Like, avoid that by all means. Have the ability to successfully defend yourself and those that you love and you're supposed to protect, even just an innocent bystander. If you see something unjust happening, have the ability to put a stop to it, but understand at the same time, like, I do not want to be involved with that or even see anybody involved with that, because of how severe the repercussions can be. And but once you understand that, one of my very favorite quotes ever, we shall not cease from exploration, and at the end of all of our exploring will be to arrive back at the place where we first began, but to know the place for the first time. And to take a giant loop back around, going back to me being upset with fighting or whatever for a little while, and I realized, I don't even know if I finished what I was saying, but I realized I was out of line with my purpose for the first time in my life. And that's where my upset, my disappointment came from, was I felt uninvigorated about life. And it was the first time ever since I was like 6 years old. I will wake up and I'm like, I can't fucking wait to just do life, like just to do the day, you know? And I'm like, dude, for the first time in my life, I had this scent that I was like,
a bunch of 9-to-5ers are watching this like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. But again, I mean, I think it's just having a purpose that transcends your life by itself. If you're doing things just for yourself, you'll start to contemplate existentially, like, dude, what is it? Like, I'm gonna die one day. None of this is gonna be meaningful at all. And no matter what kind of legacy I leave behind, eventually the galaxy is gonna get so big that it rips in the middle and everything's ate by a black hole. And like, you know, like it's like there's the deeper you think about it. The deeper you think about it, though, it's more like none of this stuff matters. And so you need a purpose that transcends.
Well, I think men
life.
in general deeply derive happiness from purpose.
Yeah, 100%.
I think men need purpose. I'm not a woman, so I don't necessarily know if that is as strong of a feeling. But I'll tell you this right now. If you've ever been in a position where you were unemployed as a man, okay, at any time in life, you forget how much of your own value you put to the purpose of work, about your ability to garner money. Because it's like, what is like top 5 questions someone will ask you? What's your name? Maybe how old are you?
From?
Where are you from?
What do you do?
Yeah. And it's not, I'm a father. I'm this. It's like, what do you do? It's like, what is your job? What is your purpose? Like, how do you make your
What
money?
is the value you bring into the world? Yeah.
And I remember there was a moment in time where I was unemployed for literally 1 week. And I had this like existential dread. I was like, oh, dude, I'm a fucking piece of shit. I don't have a job. I'm not making money. The fuck am I doing? And like, I don't know if that's because of me as like a man. You know what I mean? 1 week. I couldn't imagine if I put all my eggs in a basket and then came to the realization at 40 that like, this is no longer my purpose. Like, what the fuck am I? What am I doing? That existential dread of like, what was it all for? I don't know.
And that's exactly where I was at, was like, what am I doing all this for? Because I don't care about being famous. I don't care about being that guy. Like, I don't care about people knowing Evan Elder. But I do care about taking care of my family, and to bring this back to what you were saying is, as a man, I think, like you were saying, our purpose is to protect and provide. Like, that's like, dude, that's like two really huge key points of like having a successful life as a man, is just to protect and provide. And that, I think, is where our purpose derives from. It's like, I'm going to protect and provide for my family by being the greatest fighter I can be, to be able to protect
and to provide,
and then the resources and stuff that will come with it, I'm going to be able to provide. But anyways, I just had to realign myself with my purpose of like realize, I was just starting to think about what it really was like me being upset that I felt like my family wasn't changing, and I felt like oh, maybe like I'm failing. Like I'm not able to give them the only thing that actually matters, which is to find internal success, happiness, health, whatever, all these things that we can't buy, right? And I'm like, and then fighting is not really bringing me the material success to where even if I did want to, like, it's like, okay, maybe you guys can't figure that out on your own. I don't know what else to do, but maybe I can help you pay off your car so you're less stressed. Maybe I can help you with some of the freaking, debt you've accumulated so you're less stressed. And maybe it'll free up the ability to then give you the opportunity and the time to find within yourself the things that will actually make you happy. And then I was like, well, then I should be doing something else. Like, I'm not fighting for money. And I'm like, what am I doing? And anyways, I just had to realign myself.
No, I think that's the greatest reason to want wealth. That's the greatest reason to want wealth, is to spread it.
Yeah, I mean, because otherwise, again, you can have the Bugatti, but it's like, if you got nobody else with you, like, it's not that cool.
Sorry, I needed a whiskey break. You recently went to that finance summit, I want to say a couple months ago, like 6-7 months ago.
Yeah, it was probably somewhere around there. I don't know.
Can you explain to me what that was, how you got involved with those people, and how was it?
Dude, it was absolutely amazing. I'm still involved with them. PAC, Pro Athlete Community. It's essentially an organization that was developed to educate athletes on how to
invest, think about money.
It's to transition back into the real world, like not the real world, back into
civilian life,
regular life, I guess. Outside of athletics. Because I feel like so many professional athletes, you grow up. I mean, you're essentially being groomed from like a young age to be this thing, and then you spend your whole life focusing on this set of skills, and then whenever you leave, just like we were talking about earlier, it's like dudes are just left with
this empty purpose, this empty feeling. What am I?
Exactly. And that's one of the biggest things was like, what am I doing with my life now? Not just like financially, you might have a little bit of money left over from the league or whatever it is. But what is my life's purpose now? Like I had this mission, like my whole life, this thing that I was working to achieve. And now I don't have any set goals. So a lot of it was that of just like, figuring out how to transition from your professional career into your business career or life after, and just educating you on finances. And one of the biggest things I loved with every single day, they were like, we are here to remind you that you are elite. Like the work that you put in is not in vain. It will and can directly translate to whatever you're going to do next. And
well, I think it takes a special person and a special mindset to achieve the level that you have in any given art. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? You could have chosen anything else in life. Maybe a mechanic, a fucking engineer, computer guy, what have you, a salesman, and you would have crushed it at that. It just so happened that you chose martial arts.
Yep.
Because that mindset, the discipline, the work ethic, that transcends the action. That's a universal trait.
Yeah, I always think of like the recipe for success is similar across the board.
I agree.
Like I don't care if you want to be the best podcast host, the best father, the best fighter, the best McDonald's employee. It's going to take hard work, discipline, sacrifice, all these similar traits, right? It's going to be the same recipe. You just apply it to a different
output.
Yes. And but anyways, yeah.
So you went to the summit though. Mm-hmm. What was the summit like? Just that? Like just kind of reiterating some of these things?
It was basically like
was it networking, meeting one another? And,
that was like one of the biggest things.
Network is your net worth.
That's one of their biggest things too. Is like, hey, now that you're a PAC member, like you're plugged into the PAC community forever. Like anytime, like you have our resources. If you want to start something and you reach out to us, I'm
like entrepreneurially.
I'm sure we can put you in touch with somebody that's going to be able to help you greatly with that.
You called me once talking about like how you would like to do something like on the go and stuff like that. Is that still a thing you want to do?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Are you talking about
the podcast fan?
Yeah, I would. So I thought about, I guess, just to fill everybody in, just in case. I'm sure they have no idea what we're talking about. But
Evan can multitask.
Dude. But I kind of had this idea of like getting a one of those like Mercedes Sprinter vans remodeled into like a 1-bedroom, like a little like camper or whatever. I still love this idea and I think it would be amazing, but I don't think it's the time in my life right now just because I'm kind of settled in a good spot with training.
You're still living out in Vegas, right? And then you
Yep.
got you.
But yeah, I was wanting to have like a podcast out of there, travel the country, train at all kinds of different gyms. I just love, I love training. I love
I think
meeting
it's
new
dope
people. I love
concept.
talking to people. I love, and the price of self-mastery is solitude. You really got to spend time alone by yourself if you're trying to work on yourself.
Said every virgin.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa, wait a minute.
The price of mastery is solitude?
The price of self-mastery is solitude?
Oh, self-mastery.
Yeah.
Sounds like a virgin.
Yeah. Listen.
Sorry, continue.
We can't be blessed everywhere. I'm playing.
Well played.
Yeah, so that's what Ariane was just referring to is
When I said the idea, you just approached me about like an idea you had. I actually thought it was like a great theory. It was just like what I was trying to like discuss was like more the application. I guess the reason I bring that up is because like you did have some thoughts about some things, or some extracurriculars that were outside of fighting but still tied to fighting. I just didn't know if this pack also kind of illuminated some things for you. I guess what I'm wanting to ask, and forgive me, I'm just gonna get right to the point. What was the value you got out of it?
I
Did
learned
they educate
a
you
lot.
on the market? Did they educate you on entrepreneurship?
Yeah,
how to set up an LLC?
They educated
What did they
us
go
a
over?
ton. They educated us a ton on a lot of that stuff. But for me, a lot of it was it was great. It was great for me to just be thinking of, a little bit further down the line. I don't think I'm there yet to where I'll be honest with you, and again, I might just be ass backwards on everything, but I really am just trying to do what I really feel in my heart of hearts is like the best move.
That's all any of us can do.
And right now it's just being relentlessly focused
On fighting.
on self-improvement in general, because it's like we were saying earlier with the Bruce Lee training thing, it's like when I'm training, when I'm eating, I'm training, when I'm listening to books, I'm training, when I'm meditating, I'm training, when I'm stretching, I'm training, when I'm doing all these things. I try to pack out my 24 hours in a day of training, including my 8 hours of sleep, which is training, which, actually probably more
Recovery,
than that.
but still
Yeah.
training.
Yeah, for now, it's not really necessarily the time for me to be trying to get very business savvy. But it's definitely something I have my eyes on in the future. It's not like I hope I'm not going to arrive to that point in my life and be like, oh my gosh, what do I do now?
Yeah. I know what you mean.
I'm like, dude, I know I have a ton of ideas and things I'm currently even brainstorming and working on, but I'm just not like fully committed to. I just have so much that I'm doing right now that I think is bringing me success and what I need to do right now at the moment that I don't want to sacrifice any of that stuff, because I think I would be kicking myself way more thinking about what if, if like, man, what if I did just sacrifice all of my time towards just trying to be better, because you know how it is when you're competing, and especially at a high level, every little bit matters. Like, dude, it might come down to that 1% difference.
Well, they say it's a game of inches.
Yeah. And who knows, the idea of like leaving no stone unturned, it's like, you don't know which stone that you're going to unturn that actually unlock the secrets to your next evolution, and it's like, I'm trying to leave none of those things left unturned. And, which also, how you do one thing is how you do anything. And I think the overall quality of who I am as a person, just in general, the level of human being that I am is going to directly relate and translate to everything else I do in life. So all the amount of time that I'm putting, not necessarily focusing on business stuff, when I do decide to transition to that, I'm going to be able to adapt much easier.
Well, that's kind of my next line of questioning, and forgive me if I'm kind of jumping around here, but I'm just curious. So let's say you're 40 years old, you were already the UFC champion, you defended
40?
the belts.
Is that what you said?
You're 40. You defended the UFC championship. You were all the things that you ever set out to do in the sport. You did. What are you doing after?
If that's the case,
you like, you have all the money, so money's not a variable.
Yeah.
Family's happy, all this other stuff. All the things that you were talking about throughout this conversation, they have been executed. What else?
For me, that would look like I'm living on a big compound with my closest family and friends. We have a giant garden and orchard and
All right,
animals.
Bryce Mitchell, relax.
Dude, I love that idea.
I'm fucking with you, man.
But I'll have a gym. I will definitely have a gym.
Would you still live in Missouri? Would you move?
I have no idea. That's one thing I'm unsettled on is where it would be, but I would imagine it would probably be in Missouri just because I would want to be close to all my family. And it's not like I have to be living in the backyard, but like close
if not
enough.
Missouri, where else? Like
I really don't know. Maybe
maybe Vegas,
no, probably not.
Florida.
Maybe Florida, South Carolina. I've been to. I really like South Carolina. Somewhere, South Carolina might be a really good option because you're close enough to the beach, a couple hours drive to the beach or whatever, way in the woods still to where the Greenville, Greenville, South Carolina has a really nice like city life, like downtown and stuff of just being close to a big city, hospitals and other resources, grocery stores, stuff like that, whatever. But you're also like a 20-30 minute drive away from being like super country, which is where I would want to be having like a homestead type deal.
Interesting. So you kind of want that privacy. You want to be there with only the people that you want in that compound, so to speak, and then you want to kind of isolate yourself from the rest?
Not isolate, no.
Forgive me, isolate might be the improper verbiage. I guess what I'm trying to say is congregate with the ones that you want and then make it so that it's a little ways off the beaten path.
I would, and I don't even really care about it being off the beaten path. I would say it's more important for me to have those that I love the most or enjoy to spend my life with the most, closest to me. Other than like I want to be away from everybody, because that's actually not true either. I would still love to be associated with anybody and everybody, but outside of that, I would definitely have. What I want to have is a giant gym, but it's gonna be much more than a gym. Having like hopefully, I want to have like a great gym to pass on all the martial arts information and knowledge. I was
going to ask you that. Do you want to be a coach one day?
Yeah, for sure. I guess to sum up the question that you asked, I would be trying to help others become the greatest versions of themselves. Of like, and
but that's not tied to martial arts.
To me, a lot of it is, but that's why I love this idea
life coaching?
of my gym. Not necessarily, but I mean, you know how it is, dude. How many life lessons have you learned on the mats? Like. I feel like a lot, right? Like it's made you.
It's helped me in business.
It helps you everywhere. I think.
I agree.
Because again, it's just I think it's the greatest tool for self mastery.
Yeah. Wrestling is still the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, dude. And nothing teaches you about yourself more than suffering.
Yes.
You got to suffer to figure out who you really are, and once you figure out who you really are, now you can apply those skills of who you are to whatever it is you're doing in life, and but also giving a lot more structure and guidance in that sense of like. Not just showing up to the gym, beating the crap out of each other, and just being like, "All right, now you're better. Go out into the world." Because a lot of people can't.
Good job, kid.
Yeah, like, hey, take this freaking broken arm and bruised eye and go freaking sell some extra burgers.
Stop being a pussy. Bye.
But I think it's so much more intricate than that. But like helping people more quickly understand and realize like. Why what they're doing is making them better, and then how it can apply to other areas of their life. But anyways, I guess so. It wouldn't just be a gym. I want my gym to have I want it to be a place where I love the idea of like even if I'm not training world class athletes, which I hope I will. I hope that I will be a UFC world champion. I hope I can produce some world champions. But more so, even if you're just a businessman or a mother or any other number of things that you can come in here, train, and this can be your place of like your place to be refined. Like I'm coming here to sharpen myself as a person, to go back into the world and just be better at everything I'm doing, whether it's being a mother, brother, husband, father, businessman, lawyer, doctor, teacher, anything like that. But also, so I would want to have a great gym, a high quality facility, and have I would love to have like a library of some sort. Like it doesn't have to be anything extensive, but like just a quiet place you can get away, work or read especially. But have like a little coffee shop or some sort of cafe to where you can kind of network, hang out with people from the gym, the team, or just the community in general.
You want to create where you want to hang out.
Yeah, 100%.
You wanna
Why wouldn't
create
I?
where you wanna
I want
hang
to
out.
create the life that I would never need a vacation from, right? You
God
know, like-
bless.
Like,
That's the best thing you've said all day. You want to create the life that you never want a vacation from.
yeah, like, I mean, I feel like that's the goal, right? Is like, Jordan Peterson talks about that. I'm sure that's where I got this from. Is like, he's like, your dream life, like, is not being on a vacation. You know, drinking margaritas on the beach for a couple hours a day or whatever is like
Bold of him to know what I like.
yeah, but like I really think that's true of like just sitting around and just enjoying yourself.
It's gonna get
will
old.
get old fast
Yeah.
because I think people really greatly misunderstand what brings you pleasure and what brings you happiness. Like, I don't think pleasure is directly correlated to happiness at all, and I think it's actually a lot of times the inverse, because the things that bring us pleasure in the moment is usually what takes away from our happiness. You know, like, this cake tastes great in the moment, but diabetes 20 years down the road
Tastes
fucking
even better.
sucks. But or you know, alcohol feels great in the moment. You wake up with a hangover, and then you wake up 20 years later with a freaking
Fatty liver.
a fatty liver. You know, it's like the things that bring us pleasure in the moment a lot of times are not the things that lead to happiness.
Yeah, okay, fair. But I would also say that moderation in all things is the spice of life.
Yeah,
I think abstinence through all of these things, like, I understand exactly what you're getting at and what you're saying, and the product of discipline can also be its own, like, sharpening tool. But I would also say that, like, I have discipline. I can experience many things and still walk the path that needs to be walked. The only reason I bring this up is there's a commonality to a lot of people where they start to argue that discipline is also correlated with sacrifice. And while I think there's a Venn diagram where, like, by definition, to be disciplined, you have to sacrifice, I don't think it's overlapping spheres, as in discipline is sacrifice.
Yeah, it's not
I
like
think
a
there's a lot of
direct
things that I
equation.
do out of discipline that I don't have to sacrifice for.
But see, this is where I would say there's almost a misunderstanding. The reason it's not a sacrifice to be disciplined is because what you're sacrificing is no longer a sacrifice. Me giving up eating really good tasting food that makes me feel shitty is no longer a sacrifice, because I'm like, oh yeah, my health feels way better than that momentary pleasure of, like, I know I'm not really sacrificing that much because I understand the reward that I'm getting from the discipline.
That's a mental equation that you're doing, and you're finding that the juice is worth the squeeze. Duly noted.
Is that kind of what you were saying though?
No, it's let me explain it to you a different way. Let's say there are responsibilities that are beholden to you now that previously weren't, that require you to sacrifice that which you love to do and that is actually good for you to do. I'll give you an example.
I got what you're saying.
Let's say rent goes up $300. Now you don't have time to do jiu-jitsu. Now you have to work an extra 2 hours a day, and you don't have time to do jiu-jitsu. That's discipline because you're sacrificing. Okay. Or inversely, let's say it's not even about money. You would rather the discipline of, like, giving up what you like, sacrificing the jiu-jitsu time, maybe with working on a job or working on something that you're trying to foster and grow. So it's like the thing that you're giving up is something you like. I like doing jiu-jitsu. But the thing I'm doing in place of it, I also like. Operating a business or starting something or building a library, whatever the fuck it is that you want to do. I don't necessarily think that discipline is also always correlated to sacrifice, and you don't have to sacrifice to be disciplined. I think discipline could be something as simple as consistency. Okay, let me put it this way. Going to jiu-jitsu every day, that's discipline. Because there's days that you're going to love it and days that you're not. Right? I hate the quote that when you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, because that's the most, like, stupid fucking thing I've ever heard. Porn stars go to work. Let that sink in. Their job is sex, and they go to work, right? Because I'm sure there's some days they don't want to do it. So it's like, amplify that to whatever it is, whatever field, whatever it is that you want to do. Given enough repetition, given the consistency over time, everything feels like work. Do you like every day that you go to the gym to train? I'm sure there's some days you're fucking sore. I'm sure there's some days you want to sleep in. I'm sure there's some days you might want to enjoy the fucking cake because you're just feeling rebellious. But then you have the discipline. It's not a sacrifice, but you have the discipline. Or sometimes it is a sacrifice.
I was going to say, I think everything is a sacrifice. Like, every single thing we do ever is a sacrifice because we're choosing between one or the other, like one thing or the other. Like, we're
No, because textbook definition of sacrifice is like you're giving something up. Please Google
Aren't
that
you
for me.
aren't you always giving something up? No matter
There's
what
opportunity
you're doing.
cost. What is the cost of what I'm giving up? But that's a good point. That's a good
Because
point.
I feel like you're everything.
There's
in life
always
is
an option.
sacrifice.
There's always an option. That's fair. Because even if you're doing nothing, you're giving up the opportunity to do nothing to do something. So
Yes,
fair.
I feel like you're always. I'm sorry. Go ahead with sacrifice.
It's hard because it goes they immediately with like sacrificing animals. So just
Jesus Christ.
The blood of the lamb.
The act of giving up something valued for the sake of something else, regarded it as more important or more worthy. We
That
must,
does change
quote
it.
unquote, all be prepared to make sacrifices.
Yeah. So
No, that does, the definition does change it because it's saying that something else is of greater value, and so, right? That's what because it was saying that you're giving up something because something
of
else
greater
is,
value, but value is perspective.
and so then
Depends how you value your time.
what I was just saying that kind of cancels that out because what I was thinking of is like, no matter what you're doing, you're sacrificing because like, for me, spending time with my family is what I want to be doing. I'm sacrificing time from training, but I want to be but
Or you're sacrificing time for your family to train.
exactly, and that's what I mean. It's like no matter what I'm doing, I'm giving one of them up. You know, and that's just one instance. But I feel like that's kind of the case with anything. If I want to sleep in, if I want to lay down, if I want to chill and not do anything for the day, that's totally fine. But I'm also sacrificing all the opportunity that I could have been making from working for that day. You know, or vice versa. It's like, oh man, I really want to chill today, but I'm gonna get out and work instead. But I'm sacrificing the pleasure, or just not even just the pleasure, but just sacrificing the moment to rest or whatever. So I just feel like we're always sacrificing no matter what we're doing. What's that? There's that one quote. It's like there's two pains in life, you know, the pain of discipline,
pain of
and
regret
pain
or the pain of discipline. Yeah.
And it's like we're always going to be, the pain is the sacrifice, you know. It's like no matter what we do, there's always going to be, we could have chose something else, and there's always going to be a pain of that, you know, of like,
I don't know.
if that
I
answers
guess
the
I
last
guess
part
what
of
I'm
that
trying to
sentence.
get at is I'm interested in, so like for me, I always have these goals. Like I have a goal by the time I'm 40, a goal by the time I'm 50, 60, 70, and if I even see past that, that's its own goal, right? And usually every goal that I have, actually I can say this for sure, every goal that I have is correlated with like a strategic, definable metric. Like this thing must be done for me to consider this a success or a failure. Now, the nuance in between that, a multitude of variables. For you, I'm just curious, you know, the compound, this place that you would want to congregate on your own free time. You never brought up your personal, like, do you want a wife? Do you want children?
For sure. For some reason, when you said that,
No, forgive me. I'm not
No.
trying to like gotcha. I'm just
no,
curious.
when you said that, for some reason, when you said, I thought you said something about like families all taken care of, and I assumed
I meant
I
financially.
assumed
Financially.
like my wife and kids.
Oh, forgive me. Then I
But,
didn't do a good job of asking the
100%.
question.
I can't wait to find the woman of my dreams and, you know, the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with and have 400 kids or whatever it's going to be. Well, we can adopt. No, I really do. You know, we'll see. We'll take it one child at a time. But
Do you think that that is something that you can facilitate while being a fighter, or do you think that these are mutually exclusive?
no, it's definitely not mutually exclusive. Either one, having a wife and or kids. And I think they can both greatly enhance
While you're
and
fighting?
enrich. Yeah, I don't think they have to be mutually exclusive at all. But for me personally, right now, it just hasn't happened. I haven't.
Met the person.
Yeah, I think that's. I think two ways on this. I think that it is our job and responsibility to whoever we do end up with to make the very most of that relationship. Because I do think that we have the ability to be happy with almost anyone if that person also understands that agreement of like, hey, if we both put in the work, we can make this relationship not just work, but to thrive. You know, it's like, but also with that being said, it's way easier instead of trying to force something to work to have somebody that you naturally deeply align with. You know, I heard a quote, something like find the person that speaks the language of your soul, so you don't have to spend your lifetime trying to explain yourself or something like that.
That's beautiful.
But, yeah, it was something like that. But anyways, basically just saying like, wait for your soulmate. You know, it'll be worth it.
Well, okay, devil's advocate. If you're not searching, if you're not proactively trying to make that happen, and you're hoping, wishful thinking here, that it'll bestow itself upon you, some would say that you're not necessarily too disciplined in the act of trying to find that.
Yeah, I worry about that all the time, and I've played. I don't know. I kind of go back and forth because
It's different too, because as a woman, if you were a woman and you said that, I wouldn't have said anything. But as a man, we are usually sought as the initiators. Like, right, the guy goes up to the girl and asks her out on a date, or, hey, would you like a drink or whatever, right? So it's like, if your mentality is to be a little bit more passive versus aggressive, logic would dictate as a male, then that would not necessarily correlate to the outcome that you're describing.
I'm not too worried about that in the sense of because it's not like I'm like running from it. I'm not like, oh, I'm gonna hide from this. But I'm also, but you're definitely right. I'm not like actively seeking it out. I'm not like on dating apps or trying to go out on dates and stuff. With
A bunch of
people,
girls right now are like,
but no, I just think that it's gonna happen when it's supposed to
have
happen.
you had Bumble?
What?
Have you tried? I'm just saying.
Yeah, whenever I first moved to Florida and stuff.
I bet you did.
6 years ago.
Bumble seems to be the one that like everyone gets married from. Tinder's the one where everyone just fucks. Hinge is like the new, like, the kids are down with Hinge. That's the kids.
I never had it.
But if you're looking for like wife type, Bumble.
Yeah. All right.
You know what I like about Bumble?
Noted.
They make the girls. I know this from people that have. I know. Okay, anecdotal. 4 people that I know that have used Bumble. All 4 of them married now, and I think there's a correlation between making the woman. She has to. So if you swipe right on her and she swipes right on you, the woman has to initiate the conversation.
I've heard somebody
and
talk
I
about
fucking
this.
love that. I bet that shit is fucking hard, ladies. It ain't easy starting the conversation from scratch.
It's
So
funny, though, 'cause
how's
it's
your
probably,
foot?
It's probably hella easy for girls because they're
Hi.
just like, yeah, they just say whatever they want. Like
They will say the shit that they say they hate hearing from men.
because it doesn't matter. They're like, well, it's your
No,
job.
it does matter. It does matter. Are you kidding me? That initial, like,
No, it does. It does. But I'm saying, just like you were saying
match,
earlier,
you match with a girl. You match with a girl.
just like you
and
were
she
saying
hits you
earlier.
with H.I. Hi. That doesn't matter? That's it? Bitch, you better put some
depends.
effort.
It depends.
I'm Evan fucking Elder. Google me.
No, it depends. But like just like you were saying earlier, like if I was a girl saying that, you're like, oh, I wouldn't be worried about you, you know, because the
Extrapolate that. I'm lost now.
the effort level is disproportionate.
Between women and men?
Yeah, for sure. Like you were saying.
What do you mean?
Like you were saying.
In dating?
I think like a second ago, like the
initiation?
I
think women get the short end of the stick, brother, because they put a lot of effort in the back end.
What, like with appearance and stuff?
Yeah, dude. Like, I don't have to hold a baby.
No.
Listen, I will take doing the initial. I'll buy the beer.
I thought about that.
You hold the
backwards.
baby for 9 months. I'll buy the beer.
No, 100%. I thought you were saying it in reverse. I took that as in like beforehand. I thought you were saying like with appearance, like putting a bunch of effort and like looking good.
Well, yeah, I mean, men do as well, don't they?
Yeah, I mean that's part of being.
You're an in shape guy. I'm sure you get your hair cut and smell good. Did you shower before a date? That's effort.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what's harder, putting on makeup or making sure you have a 6-pack?
I mean, definitely, probably a 6-pack.
All right then. So then, who put in more effort on date night?
So I mean, yeah.
I'm right on this one.
No, for sure. I'm not trying to say.
Now listen, if you're a fat,
Can the girl in the room like
go ahead. Go no. Listen.
So the makeup comes off eventually, right? So
Six-pack
six-pack versus the makeup, just like the bras.
You
come
can
off
lose
and
a
all that kind of
6-pack
stuff.
fast,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Trust me, I've been eating since my fight, bro.
There's a big difference between, and this is, I did online dating before I met my husband. There's a big difference between
Did you do Bumble?
meeting. No, because I'm old. It was freaking eHarmony.
Maybe that was the problem.
Match.
Plenty of
God,
fish.
no. No, but there's a big
Was it
difference.
ChristianMingle.com?
No, it was eHarmony and
That's
Match.
what I would do.
So
You know,
Match,
Christian Mingle will not let a man look for another man.
Well, that
You're
makes
interrupting
sense.
me and not paying attention, so you're multitasking.
He's
a little too-
multitasking.
Right.
He's
Point
multitasking.
being,
Whoa!
Point being-
Am I being ganged up on?
Point being, as a woman, I do believe that it is like one thing to initiate a conversation, but you don't know if if I'm just hi, like most guys are not looking for a relationship.
I would say.
I beg to
So-
differ.
Well,
I think all men
everybody
are
is.
looking for the woman to bring the man out of them.
Hey, dude, I
Maybe.
just started a book recommended to me by my jiu-jitsu coach, Jason Manley. Shout out, Jason. He's the
Shout
man.
out Jason. He reads.
But, dude, Wild at Heart. Have you
Okay.
ever read that book? John Eldridge or something? I'm like 40
Oh,
pages in.
100%. I've read that.
You read
You
that?
have?
Yeah, but I don't remember.
Dude, amazing already. Amazing.
That is some shit I would say if I didn't read a book.
But,
read that shit. Don't remember.
Lazy intellectual.
Have you seen that? Have you seen that clip of Ilya on Joe Rogan?
No.
When he's like, it's like, she says, "I love guys that read," and it's like Ilya's like, Joe's like, "Yeah, you read? Like, what do you read?" And Ilya's like, "Oh, I read a lot. Like, I really like books." And it's like he goes on for like another couple seconds. He's like, just
My boy bullshit.
self-improvement. But I believe him. I believe him. I think there was just a language barrier. It was probably hard for him to.
I work out, I gym.
Yeah, like I.
I gym often.
What do you do?
Multiple times a week.
Weights?
I'll go. Gym.
Show up. That's half the battle. They say.
Yes,
Sometimes I show up and just.
I love reading books, especially.
I mean, I guess you could read newspapers, articles.
I'll add one other
magazines.
piece into this, to the dating piece, right?
eHarmony
And I don't know
was-
if I'm right or not.
You probably are.
Is that real quick though?
It
Is
is
that how
really-
you met your husband? eHarmony?
No. God,
Okay.
no.
Okay. So eHarmony 0 for 1.
No.
Bumble
But
4 for 4.
I had my life experience. When I met my husband, I realized that he was the one. So anyway,
Aw.
but no.
Aw,
women-
collective
I
aw.
love that.
But women,
I love love.
like rejection. I don't know if this is actually true, but I've always thought about like men try all the time to sleep with women. I don't know if this is true. That like being rejected is like meh, whatever. Where like for me to put myself out there, that is like ridiculously scary. So I don't know.
I think it
could
has
see-
nothing to do with sleeping with a woman. I think it has everything to do with a woman wants a man to. No, a woman wants a man to initiate. Do you want a recessive man?
I mean, I think as a man, it is more. our
Okay,
job, for
I need to
sure.
preface it this. Like, I'm not trying to give dating advice. There are different strokes for different folks. There will be someone that listens to this and be like, I wear the pants in the relationship. Good for you. Like, whatever works for you. You know what I mean? I am not trying to say, like, on average, it seems like more women like a masculine initiator man. And I don't think it has anything to do with sleeping with them more than it has to do with rejection. Like, I'm used to I'm not used to it now. I'm married now.
No,
but-
you're exactly my point. Is that for a woman, rejection is so hard. For a man, it's like, man, okay, I'm
Well, I
rejected. I'm
think-
going to move on to the next.
I think
thing.
also the creatures that we are, women are much more emotionally intelligent, and men are supposed to be more intellectually intelligent. So, I mean, right? Like that's is that? Listen, I might have just got us. I might have just got us killed, Ariane. I'm sorry, bro. But no, listen.
Canceled.
No, listen. Let me explain myself. Let me explain myself. A woman thinks more emotionally, right? As opposed to
listen,
thinking
this is your-
we're supposed to be able to shut off our
This
emotions
is your podcast.
when we're supposed to be able to shut off our emotions and make the more logical decision that's going to protect and provide our family.
All right. Okay.
So,
Okay. All right. When you
we-
word it like that, I'm
we're
with you.
supposed to
But
be-
you said we're more
supposed to be-
intellectual.
But that's what
These
logic
bitches is
right?
dumb, is
That's
what I
not
heard.
at all
Evans.
what I meant. You're talking about a fucking meathead fighter. I might be on the spectrum, but I'm just saying, like, from a biological, physiological standpoint, isn't that like as creatures who we are? Women are supposed to think more emotionally,
I'm so
and
glad I
we
asked
think
you this.
more logically. We're supposed to.
You actually think more like an animal. Primally, no, it's true. Primally, the protected. What you
Tell me
protect
anything more primal than a woman undergoing pregnancy, changing the physiological shape of her body and undergoing all that trauma, both physically and mentally, to care for the next generation. There's nothing I've done more primal than that. So I disagree.
Anyways, Sorry about that.
So, listen,
I
men
didn't
are
even
smarter
mean
than
that
women.
in a bad way. I thought I was stating like something that was. I wasn't saying.
Brother, I had to leave.
Listen,
That's your show.
I probably, I really, as
know-
I said it,
You know, I never thanked you for being on your podcast. Thank you, brother.
what?
Yeah.
What'd
After
you-
that
wait,
comment,
what'd
this
you
is-
just say?
I never thanked you for being on your podcast.
I was so confused. I was like, I have a podcast.
The smart man over here.
Listen, speaking of being more logically thinking,
Brother, that's the first time.
I didn't say me. I
Can I
just
say
said
this?
men in
It's
general.
the first time anyone's ever said anything on the podcast where I was like, yikes. we've had some combos. I was like, I'm out.
Don't make a reel
I
out of
didn't
that
sign
one.
a waiver.
Don't make a reel out of that one.
Oh, that's
I will not
100%.
collaborate. I will absolutely not collaborate.
I'm so glad you came. Oh my God! Listen,
What were we even talking about
we
for that
were
to come
talking about how eHarmony is 0 for 1, Bumble 4 for 4.
And
Bumble.
that's what I was thinking. That's
Give
what-
your boy a
were talking-
sponsorship.
I think we were. So this is where I was trying to go with this. We were talking about the difficulty of dealing with rejection compared to male and female. Correct.
Yeah.
So I think that emotionally, it's harder to deal with that. Of the feeling of like, oh my God, being rejected.
It all depends.
Logically,
It all depends on repetition. So, like, if you go for one, yes, because if you go for one and you're rejected once, oh my God, you know, like I was rejected.
but that would be the logical thing. A number.
No, but for
numbers
men,
game,
yes,
right?
for men,
Not
we
just-
get rejected so fucking much in so many aspects of life. It's a Tuesday for us. But women, because they don't get rejected as much,
It feels much more
hits
emotional.
more. It hits
It's
more.
much more emotional.
Dude, have you ever
But
seen a
as-
girl
as-
where a guy says, "I don't want to have I don't want to sleep with you"? Girls take that shit personally. Meanwhile, a guy will be like, "You want to sleep with me? You want to sleep with me? You want to sleep with me? You want 4 no's? You want to sleep with me?" Oh, boys, I got a yes.
Listen.
I
Yeah,
got a
you're
yes.
100% proving my point that I
But
just
that's-
said.
But it's okay. Hey, you know what? I did. You know why I did
This
up big time?
podcast.
Is because it's not a matter of intelligence. I shouldn't have said that, but like we're supposed to be
can't go
trying to
back.
think.
It's on the
I know
internet.
it's already said, and I apologize. Listen,
Do you want me to edit it
I'm
in?
not. No. I'm not afraid to.
Women
own
have
up to my
emotional
mistakes.
intelligence, and men don't have intelligence. I'll put like an AI voice.
Just completely monotone. Just
It'll be my voice. I'll say it. And women are great.
just play the intro.
The
music.
mouth does not
Yeah.
match the words.
It's one of those Chinese movies that it's like.
Anyway,
was great.
All I wanted to hear from you more than anything was that even though you live this really wild life of being a UFC fighter and that you're pursuing multiple avenues of self-improvement
Multitasking.
and multitasking, you're also I like it when men talk about wanting to, you know, take on the responsibilities of like having a partner and, you know, spreading that value to children. And I think a man is best when he has responsibility, is what I'm trying to say. I think the more responsibility a man has, the better the man. However, I think there's a fine line between too much, like pressure, right? Enough pressure, you can make a diamond. Too much, you break that shit. So I just like that no matter how much you have going on for you, that is still something in the back burner. Because I will also say, I know you as an individual. I think the world would be better off with little elders.
Oh, thank you.
Before we put a nightcap on this one, boy, did this derail. a little.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, are you kidding me? I love this shit. I love this shit. Before we call it a cap, man, anything that you want to discuss that we haven't touched on? Is there a topic or an
Nah,
issue?
I mean,
or?
I feel like we covered a lot. I just enjoy coming on here and talking,
Dude,
talking with you. So
I relish it. You're one of the few people that have been on now 3 times.
let's go.
Fuck yeah.
Third time's supposed to be the charms, but sometimes you say something really stupid at the end and ruin the whole thing.
I cannot wait to edit this one.
Do not make that a real. I'm not collaborating on that.
edit that shit. And I'm
UFC
gonna
fighter Evan Elder.
Oh
says
my
women are
god! I'm gonna put
retarded.
your social security number on there.
Dude.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I would
I did
never.
not-
I hope
I
you
did
know I
not
would
mean
never
that.
put you in a negative light.
Listen, to all the women out there, I love you.
So
as you can
smart.
tell, I am not.
definitely read
I am
books?
not the intellectually superior one.
I disagree.
but-
you hit me with some shit today. Multitasking is not real.
Listen,
I learned that.
dude, multitasking is a very valuable skill, but it cannot be replaced for deep work. It itself is its own skill, and I think there's times and place for both. We're not even gonna get started on that, but I am really interested to read more on that because that's really
Books?
interesting. Sometimes I read books, but but apparently, there's a big debate in the university world between. Isn't that what Adrian was saying?
Evan Elder, brother. It's
Yeah,
been,
listen.
it's been a fucking time.
Maybe I'm the emotionally intelligent one.